The run towards the championship 4 offers the final chance for each of the 8 drivers remaining to make one last effort at advancing to the finale. And where the sun sets over the beautiful California mountains, it's where the sun sets for 4 drivers on their championship campaigns. It's live from the virtual Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, where we bring you the semifinal race of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series playoffs in Season 7, and with the Mach 10 Digital 250. Welcome to the penultimate race ever of an M&R full season, and we're so delighted to bring you the last 2 chapters of the book. We're alongside Dylan Connolly in the booth. I'm Kenneth Bueno. Eddie Smith is our producer tonight. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Dylan, the answer is simple here in these final 2. Execute, and you're going to find yourself with a Monday Night Racing Pro Series Championship. Now, it's easier said than done, and there's a lot of difficulty in this matchup for tonight's race. Auto Club Speedway, the Gen 4 cars, it's a combo that's really tough to drive, and it's one that is going to forcefully test the will and might of all of the drivers in the playoffs, especially knowing that only 4 will make it to the finale next week at Chicagoland.
You know, it's almost poetic that we're here at this track, because this track in real life is sadly now partially a parking lot, and it's being converted into a short track. At least that's what they say, but it's almost very poetic that this is the penultimate race, and we're here at this great racetrack. It's going to be a lot of great racing tonight. You're going to see cars high, low, and in the middle. I just can't wait for this one.
And this track in Monday Night Racing, Dylan, offers that championship feel, right? It's provided so many great races over its tenure in this series. It's hosted a championship finale multiple times, and often semifinal races too, so the drama only elevates from there. And we'll look at the season schedule. We've only got 2 left, Dylan, which is crazy to say, because we're going to end this season hopefully on a high note, and this is going to be the end of an M&R full-time season approach as it goes. So it's pretty emotional to have these final 2 races down, but 2 Gen 4 races, 2 of them very difficult to drive ovals, and you see how we got all the way here from race 1 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Nick Olson taking the checkered flag. Auto Club is a very tough track. This is probably at its most intensity for the playoffs, Dylan. So how do you keep this in mind as you move forward to this race, and when you think a little bit forward to another Gen 4 outing next week?
You know, they've had so many good experiences so far with this Gen 4. You know, they've ran at a lot of big tracks like Charlotte. They ran at Homestead. They ran at the old Atlanta. So this shouldn't be anything new to anyone out here. It's going to be a real slick track. The Gen 4 it's got a lot of mustard to it. It's going to be real slidey. It's going to be just a fast race car and hard to control. And you're going to be on the edge for 125 laps in this one. So all these guys that are fighting for spots here, you know, the Cabries, Ryan Vargas, everyone, Adam Cabot, which we'll talk about his situation here in just a little bit, but all these guys know what this car is going to do, but you really just don't know what's going to happen in this race.
That's a great point, Decon. You really don't know what's going to happen tonight, but you can't say that these drivers haven't had some type of practice at all with this Gen 4 car over the season. This is the most commonly run car in Season 7. Here's a look at the playoff graphic, and this is the bracket that we have for round 2. Of course, the 8 drivers that came into the championship 8, if you will, the playoff 8 at round 2 at Kentucky Speedway, then Daytona Road Course last week, and tonight at Auto Club. Cole Cabry, Adam Cabot, Presley Sora, and Josh Slate over in the first bracket on the left. Chase Cabry, Colin Fern, Bailey Turner, and Ryan Vargas, those that are tucked into the second bracket on the right. And this leads into our biggest storyline of the night, Dylan. Adam Cabot's situation going into this race. Now, he is 3 points shy of making it to the championship 4 in position, and you'd often ask yourself, if you didn't watch last week's race, why is he so far down the order in group number 1? That's because he got disqualified after causing 2 incidents during the race with the MX-5s at the Daytona Road Course. The admins thought it was enough to DQ him and give him last place points, so therefore it's Joshua Slate, Dylan, the Cinderella driver, currently with the spot. Now it's only 3 points between Slate, Sora, and Cabot, so it is going to be insanely contentious over the course of tonight's race. But Adam Cabot is going to have to execute tonight, because he's got his back against the wall for what feels like the first time ever this season.
Yeah, you look at Group 1 there, you know, Cole Cabry's got a little bit of a lead, but if Adam Cabot had not been disqualified, we would have more than likely, unless something crazy happened, known who our top 2 from that group would have been. So now this gives new life to, you know, our Cinderella story, Joshua Slate and Presley Sora there. Over in Group 2, you know, it's real tight all the way from top to bottom. Chase Cabry, both the Cabrys really have been controlling their group through the first two races of this round. But Ryan Vargas has had some good races. Bailey Turner's had solid races. Colin Fern had one stinker of a race and then one good one, and he's still got a chance if something happens to these other three and he has a good night, which he's very capable of going out and winning this race.
And in the last round, we talked about how the gaps for the advancement spots and the transfer spots were pretty obviously big. And a lot of times the drivers down there in the running order in their respective bracket wouldn't really make it through no matter what they did. But in each of these groups, if you look at 1 and 2, one is obviously a little closer, but for either of these, you're right. Nobody is safe, even if you're at the top of either of those groups, which so far are held down by both the Cabrys, Cole and Chase. It's going to make for a ridiculous race tonight, and also it's going to mean that desperation is going to kick in, and we're still going to have the competition whittled down to the checkered flag of tonight's race. Now, we mentioned the Gen 4 car, how common it's been used over Season 7. Well, this is going to be the 6th race over in Season 7 that it's going to be on the racetrack. We had it at Michigan, then Charlotte, then the old Atlanta track, Homestead at Miami, and the Gen 4 is at Kentucky to begin this second round. And Dylan, what else is there to say about this 725 horsepower beast of a race car? It provided a banger race in the Summer Series when we raced here, and it's provided insane racing ever since it's been introduced to the calendar for Monday Night Racing.
This sucker's heavy. It's 3,400 pounds of pure motor racing muscle. Now, this is a fun little fact about it. This was a happy little accident, the famous words of Bob Ross, by iRacing. This was just the ARCA car, and in between seasons during week 13, they have a bunch of new stuff. So the ARCA car was at a track. I can't remember what track it was. It's brand new. And whatever reason, something happened in the coding where they added an extra about 250 to 300 horsepower and then replicated the car that we know as the mid-2000s or Generation 4 Cup car. So this happy little accident has turned into one of the most successful cars on the surface right now, and it's been the premier car so far in Monday Night Racing.
It's magical how that all came together, and it has been such an amazing car over this season. I mean, we see a lot of these races go down along green flag runs, a lot of strategy outings, and then even at Kentucky, some late race action that provided us a near photo finish. Now, you talked about it, Dylan. This track, unfortunately, is not here in real life anymore. They have bulldozed it, and there's still somewhat plans to make it a short track, but this is the classic 2-mile D-shaped oval that has been around since 1997 that we have grown to know and love. It is a track that is synonymous with high-intensity drama in Monday Night Racing. It has hosted many championship finales. What is it about this track that ticks the driver's brains and what makes it so fun to race?
Depending on the car, that high line up against the wall is the preferred line. So the closer you run, they call it the Kyle Larson line. The closer you run to the wall, usually the better that you are. And again, that's dependent from car to car. Sometimes the middle lane's the best, sometimes the bottom, the third lane. But most of the time I've seen up against the wall is that line that drivers are going to hover around. But you'll see cars hover all around the racetrack. These restarts will be nuts because you'll see them go high, low, in the middle. They'll fan out. Even when you watch it in real life, you'll see them go 5, 6 wide into turn one, and they'll make it work.
Yeah, I was about to say, Dylan, this is one of those tracks where you can go 5 wide, and it's not surprising because this track is so big. This track has a lot of lanes that are of opportunistic value to the drivers. And of course, you can go all the way to the bottom. You can rip the wall at the top and get to the boards. It is so much fun to drive in the sim. A lot of drivers in real life have touted it. It's such an amazing track to drive as it has aged. And over the course of tonight's race, we'll talk about those difficulties, a lot of the intricacies of what could happen in this semifinal race in Season 7. Let's go over the race analysis for you before we jump trackside and get to tonight's starting grid here at Auto Club Speedway. We go 125 laps over 250 miles, roughly 400 kilometers throughout this 2-mile D-shaped oval. We have no fast repairs, of course, like we've had all season long. 3 green-white checkered attempts if we elect to go past scheduled distance in this race. There are 3 sets of tires laying in the pits. That's going to be big for strategy as we move forward. Fuel going to be 70% max on the tank, so it's going to provide for some open strategy over this long 125 lapper here from Fontana, California. Let's get you trackside and bring you tonight's starting grid of the semi-final race in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series playoffs in Season 7 and tonight's Mach 10 Digital 250. We're on the pole for the second straight season. Is Adam Cabot in the 17 after getting DQ'd and getting put with last place points after last week's outing at Daytona Road Course. He's looking to fight back into the championship for Cole Cabry, who has been overall the most dominant driver of the playoffs till now. he will roll off on the outside of the race pole sitter in row number 1. Christopher Tate continues his streak of wonderful qualifying efforts. He will roll off from 3rd. Nick Olsen with a great qualifying effort to put the Grit Esports marketing machine number 24 in position number 4. Colin Fern rolls off from the top 5. He needs a pretty decent run tonight to stay alive in the championship hunt. And Mario Miranda, looking for his 3rd win of the season, was emotional and was so elated after the huge win at the Daytona Road Course last week. It'll be Blake McCandless making his return to the series here from Auto Club in 7th place at qualifying. Gary Sexton will be alongside him in 8th place. That's row number 4. And then rounding out the top 10, the 10 of DJ Cummings in 9th. And Cameron City, Indiana's Presley Sora looking to advance to another championship for tonight.
I'll take you the rest of the way here. Row number 6, Ronnie Osmer in the 55 alongside Ryan Vargas. Still has some plans this year in real-life NASCAR. He's had some good runs. Michael Fisher, row 7, alongside Bailey Turner. Back here in row number 8, we have Brandon Brown. Devin Henry hopped in here. He will start off 15th, and he'll be 16th. Row number 9, Joshua Slate, the furthest back of our playoff drivers, alongside the boss man himself, Ford Martin. Then we go back to Jordan Buster and Steven Ellis. That will round out our top 20. Got a few more cars left. Row number 11, we will have Mark Rebillis alongside Joey Padgett. They'll be 21st and 22nd. Brandon Houff alongside Jordan Black. They did not qualify. And then shotgun on the field, we have Steve Offont. He will roll off in 25th position. That rounds out our field, Kenneth Bueno.
Pretty decently sized field here from the Auto Club Speedway. Field is doubled up behind the iRacing official pace car in what might be the start of the most dramatic race entering the championship finale at Chicagoland next Monday night. Adam Cabot in the 17 needs to run for his playoff life this evening, looking to get a 2nd straight win here in Fontana, California. Cole Cabry, on the other hand, has Group 1 in shackles. He's going to look to stay in control and get a lot of momentum heading into Chicagoland. Field will come out of turn 4, and for the first time in season 7, we'll be racing from the Auto Club Speedway in semi-final fashion. Pace cars down, and the Mach 10 Digital 250 from Auto Club is underway. Adam Cabot strolls around to complete lap number 1. Looks like Nick Olsen there in 3 and 4. Not afraid to use the boards there in the final 2 corners. He sits nicely in 3rd. Christopher Tate attempted a look at the inside of the race leader. He has fallen back since to 5th, now stuck in the midst of traffic. Mario Miranda, Blake McCandless around him here for 6th and 7th place. But Adam Cabot clearing ahead here at lap number 2.
Yeah, you notice they're all going to be hugging that bottom line. I think as soon as the tires get a little bit of a wear, you'll see them start to kind of move up the racetrack. But Nick also was a little adventurous there on that first lap. He was running up against the wall. But as these tires wear and as the race goes on, there's more degradation and then more rubber built into the track. You'll see all of the lanes being used here. As you look at Presley Sora there, Presley Sora got done with an ARCA test not too long ago over at Daytona. That was a life-changing experience for him. He said, yeah, 200 miles an hour is a lot faster in real life than it is in the sim.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, and we talked about it with him, his experience driving in a real-life stock car at Daytona, and only a lot of excitement ahead for Presley Sora in his young career, and he's chasing down second-place Cole Cabry. Now, of course, we don't know whether he's using his Goodyear Eagles a little more than the competition ahead. Surely the answer might be yes, but for the moment, the Indiana native charges up the outside of Cole Cabry. This will be the bout for second place. Nice onboard look. There's that bright yellow and black 51 of Cole Cabry that we've been accustomed to seeing a lot over the playoffs this season. But Sora will use the middle lane here in 1 and 2. Looks like an attempted clearance on the 51. He will have it rising up out of the corner. Presley Sora making the move to position number 2.
Yeah, Presley looks like a man on a mission. You know, he's looked good this week. He looked good for a stint in the last race. And he's kind of been up and down all season, but he's put enough of an effort in this season to where he's looking pretty good. And you know, he's only 3 points out of that second position in group number 1 for the playoff points. and I think he's going for it all here tonight.
And Sora, not a winner so far in Season 7, but it just shows you how good he is consistency-wise, able to put up finishes, able to lead laps, and although a checkered flag hasn't come in his grasp yet over the course of the season, he surely has been one of those drivers always to look out for, and has definitely been skillful, and it's elevated ever since his entrance to the series in Season 5. But right on board with Adam Cabot, and while you can't see it now, Presley Sora is making the move up high. So car number 17, as he clutches in the middle of 3 and 4 to save fuel, Presley Sora takes advantage, says, excuse me, out of the way. Presley Sora, new race leader, lap 5.
Yeah, when we were on board there, that tells me a lot. So there's already strategy coming into play in this race 5 laps in. So if I remember correctly, it's about, you can probably make it close to halfway if you just drive along. But if you're saving like this, you can turn this from a 2-stop race into a 1-stop. But if this goes green, you're going to have to pit twice. So that kind of tells me Adam Cabot might be showing his hand a little early, trying to make this on 1 stop. But, I mean, plenty of laps to try to figure that out. But I like the early strategy call here by a few guys in the field that are clutching. I thought I heard Nick Olson clutching, back DJ Cummings clutching, and Presley Sora, he's not worried about that. He's trying to get as much track position as he can and hopes for some well-timed cautions.
Yeah, out of the race leaders, Nick Olson and Cabot are the only two that are clutching and coasting, but it looks like Nick Olson is pushing his car a little more because now he goes to the outside, ripping the boards in 1 and 2. Big dive into the corner, and he'll take the nose ahead for a moment. Nick Olson should snatch away the race lead coming out of turn 2, so third new leader here over the first 7 or so laps. Car number 24 up in front. Look at the 3-wide action that's building up behind these guys in the batter half of the top 10. This is Brandon Brown, Steve Alfont, and Ryan Vargas. Nice job by Steve Alfont to take advantage early. He started dead last in 25th and is now getting stacked up by traffic ahead. That's Mario Miranda. It looks like the 55 of Ronnie Osmer and the 54. Hang on to it. Steve Alfont able to save it out of 4.
Well, Steve had a handful right there off turn 4. He found himself on the apron, and that apron could get pretty slick as it does at most tracks. But, here you'll see a lot of guys toward later in the race when the tires really don't matter and you've already made your bet. They'll use that apron, try to gain an extra half of a tenth or a full tenth of a second down the front stretch. But definitely not where he wanted to be over there.
Of course, with this Gen 4 car, it's always simple to get those rear tires spinning. You can easily find yourself around at the exit of the corner, and that's something we saw a lot of at the Legacy Kentucky Speedway just a couple of weeks ago to kick off this second round of the MNR playoffs. A lot of guys out of turn 2 had trouble keeping the car together. One of the guys in the midst of this group, Mario Miranda, who sits in 11th, he found himself in a single car spin to bring us one of our early cautions as Osmer will back out of the way. Alfont will hold on to the spot, although he drifts way up the track, almost at the outside wall near 1 and 2. And there are just a couple of playoff drivers behind this group, Decon, that we may have to watch for as we get further into this race. Bailey Turner in 13th, Ryan Vargas ahead in 12th, and then Josh Slate, who's been able to move up 2 spots since the drop of the green into 15. These 3 are definitely in interesting positions in their respective brackets. They want to advance to the championship floor, but it looks like they're playing it rather easy early on.
A whole different slew of strategies here. Nick Olson is checked out. He is about a 2 and 2/10 pass. He's 0.5 of a second faster than everybody in the field right now. But I think that's by design that everyone is that slow. I think, again, you see guys like Presley Sora, Adam Cabot, Blake McCandless, all those guys are trying to save. Nick Olson said, screw that. He's trying to get all the time that he can in positions. As you look at Devin Henry, he's smiling away. He's having a good time right there running along here in this race. But it's a big gaggle of playoff drivers right in the middle of the field, and that'll be somewhere to keep track of.
And also, too, you think about the non-playoff drivers that are all around them. How much of an effect will they have competition-wise? But I believe at this moment, it's nothing to be concerned of if you're Vargas, Turner, or Slate. They're all just trying to feel things out over the first 15 laps or so, and then see as the run progresses what they can and can't do to advance in position. You were looking on board with Devin Henry, who's had a phenomenal start to this race, up to the 8th position after starting in 15th. And how about this trio inside the top 5? 17 of Adam Cabot right ahead, the 51 of Cole Cabry behind, and Blake McCandless moving up to 5th.
Yeah, Nick Olson's still checked out. He's about 0.6 of a second faster than everybody behind him. But I imagine they'll probably start to catch up as degradation takes in. But, it's a big gaggle over here for second place. Presley Sora got a hornet's nest in his mirror as he's got a mirror full of Cole Cabry and Adam Cabot. And there's not too many more drivers far behind him.
And as we're looking at the onboards, Decon, it looks like the 17 of Cabot is really the only one clutching and coasting in this group. We saw the 24 of Olsen do it, but ever since he's checked out, it looks like he's in his own league. Cole Cabry, Presley Sora, they've been running like normal, and so has the 71 of Blake McCandless. So no real fuel-saving efforts done by everybody in the top 5 other than the Season 4 champion. Here comes Cabot sliding to the inside of Presley Sora. He'll look to get the draft off of 4 by the 51 of Cole Cabry. And for Adam Cabot, of course, trying to defend a strategy race win that he picked up last season with the 87 cars here at this 2-mile oval. Of course, Cabot, the Glen Garner, New Jersey native, Dylan, knows a thing or two about success here at Auto Club. He's performed well almost every single time we've come here. He's won a championship here, and then last season was able to take away the checkered flag in similar-esque conditions, pretty hot track temperature as the sun went down over the course of the race. So Adam Cabot, while he's falling back a little bit to the top 5 leaders, he is still someone that you should watch out for, especially given the fact that he's a little more hungry after the DQ penalty given last week.
But that's something that we talked about a couple races ago when we gave kind of the blueprint of what to expect at this round. If you have a bunch of good races in a row, you leave yourself with a bit of a buffer. Adam Cabot did a heck of a job in that first race. So he had enough of a buffer zone there to have something like this happen. Of course, you're not planning to get DQ'd and have something like that happen, but thankfully he did a good enough job in that first race where he was, I mean, he's just outside of that second position, only 3 points, where he only needs just an above average race of the other 2 to finish about a spot or 2 behind him, and he'll be in good shape.
Yeah, that's true. You can testify that the first race really was what saved Adam Cabot's championship bid, because he comes into this race only 3 points shy of the second place car in group number 1 in the bracket. That's Josh Slate. He's already beating him right now on the racetrack, so he would gain those points and a bit of extra change to advance into the next round. Of course, he is still fighting with Presley Sora, so it's not to say that it's going to be smooth sailing the entire way to the checkered for Adam Cabot, but if we're looking at the competition for Slate as it's concerned for second place in the transfer, the 17 surely has the upper hand in this match. And I mean, what a better race to give him than a hard-to-drive car at a hard-to-drive track. That's something that Adam Cabot has considered his bread and butter through this series, and, you know, told us last week that the Daytona Road Course, he kind of didn't like the fact that it was a hybrid of a road course race versus just a plain old random super speedway race that could have any sort of finishing order determined by the last couple of seconds. So Cabot is surely happy and blessed to see this track and this car at this point of the schedule.
But that's really good about Monday Night Racing is you'll have a bunch of combinations. You'll have something like this tonight where it's going to be really skill-based. The people that are good are going to be the ones that are hovering around front, but you also have those races that are wild cards where you might have a guy that's been hovering around 10th or 12th move up to 5th in one race. So races like that are always good to have, but in short instances.
Here's a look on board with Ronnie Osmer in the 55 as he chases down the likes of Steve Alfont, Devin Henry, and of course Blake McCandless up the road. A really long line of cars that starts with Presley Sora in 3rd place and then tallies all the way back to Cabot. Brandon Brown, who has done a phenomenal job, the West Virginia native, to move up from 16th to the top 5 here 17 laps in. And look, a nice onboard look from Ronnie Osmer as looks like Brandon Brown up ahead almost looked at the inside pass on Cabot for position number 4. But as you look on board, Dylan, from a driver's standpoint, how difficult is it to keep pace with all of these line leaders up in front and also make sure that the wheel is as smooth as ever as Osmer did out of 4?
Yeah, it's just a lot of things you have to deal with. You almost have to drive your own race. I mean, I know you're trying to keep up with the guys ahead of you, but just over the course of the race with, you know, a lot of comers and goers over the short stints of the races, we're 18 laps in. You just got to drive your own race. Drive the line that feels comfortable to you. Drive the line that, you know, you can save the tires the best. And, you know, you're not trying to, you can't win the race on lap 19. So you're just going to, if it was me, I would just be driving whatever line felt best for me and whatever line also was good enough to save tires, and then find the happy medium between those two.
That's a good point. And as you're going through this race, I mean, you're filling things out inside, middle, outside, and with the ability to use the advantage of an oval refresh where the inside line, if you use it all the way through over a run, it's going to get more slick and you have to sort of venture out further up the track in order to get better grip over the run. You know, you'll see that happen where guys are sort of experimenting what's good and what isn't over the course of the run. Here's a look on board from Nick Olsen, and I mean, you were right, Dylan. He has checked out completely. 1.8 seconds back to Cole Cabrey in second. No saving at all, it appears, out of the 24 in terms of the speed. He's still clutching and coasting, which is miraculous to think that he has pulled out to such a large gap over the 51. But it is just clear track ahead for Olsen, leading here at lap 20.
Now, this lead was upwards of 3.5 seconds just a couple laps ago, and Nick Olsen is starting to lose some time. Cole Cabrey's turned it up a little bit. He's running about 0.2 of a second faster than Nick Olsen. There were a few laps he was almost a half second faster, but he's just kind of cranked it up. When you're these guys at second, third, or fourth, you're trying to save, but you also don't want to lose just too much time in the process. So I think Cole Cabrey's trying to find that middle ground there where he's still close enough to the leader, but also he's still saving.
So the 24 still ahead, although it looks like Cole Cabrey starting to run him down. 0.2 of a second, the advantage for Cole Cabrey at a 41 flat. Nick Olsen there at a 41.2, and even slower here for the 24. So Cole Cabrey might just put up the fight to Nick Olsen for the lead. And these two anyway have checked out from the likes of Presley Sora, Brandon Brown, Blake McCandless, all of them who have rolled into third, fourth, and make that Ronnie Osmer now completing a bit of the top 6, with Adam Cabot falling back to as low as 7th place, the lowest we have seen him all race long since starting on the pole. So it's been pretty interesting to see how these drivers have, like you said, come and go over the entire run of this race. And 21 laps in, you're probably already thinking about, hey, where's my strategy in coming to pit road, and how can I extend my run, or at least make sure that I don't lose a lot of time when I come in for tires.
I would assume you're going to start to see guys come pit at about lap 50 or so. Just guys that are like, okay, whatever, I'll go make it a 2-stop race and just try to follow their own plan. But if you're trying to make this on one stop, you can't pit any earlier than, I would say, lap 60. Because if you can stretch it to 60, you can stretch an extra lap or two. But depending on what they save, you might have guys that can make it to 70, and then they're able to push a little bit harder than the guys that might need to pit on lap 65 or so. But if you're just driving and you're just saving gradually as you would over just the course of the race, I think this is ultimately a 2-stop race.
And here comes one taker to pit road. It's going to be Brandon Brown at lap 23. So the 12 car moved into the top 5 and is looking for his best finish in a very long time since, I believe, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, where he came home 14th. He's going to look in as Nick Olsen way loose out of 2. Here comes Cole Cabrey swooping on by. So the 51 of Cole Cabrey to the lead.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time. Cole picked up the pace a little bit. He was over 0.5 of a second faster than Nick Olsen was. And looks like, well, we have someone pitting already. Nick Olsen.
Well, here comes the race leader. Cole Cabrey's in. We had some other drivers call for pit road. It looks like Ronnie Osmer in the 55 is in. Presley Sora's going to hop on the brakes. He comes in. Joshua Slade, playoff driver, is in as well. So is the 32 of Michael Fisher. So this is a heap of cars, Decon, that are heading on in. Looks like Devin Henry, Steven Ellis among those that are finding their way down pit road.
You know, I'm big enough to admit that, I was probably wrong in this instance. I thought it would be about lap 45 or 50 when they start pitting. But, lap 25, they must have something up their sleeve where they're trying to break up this race into 250-lap stints. So by my math and guesstimation, you'll see a lot of guys pit about lap 75, and Nick Olsen will come down pit road. And I would imagine a lot of people will come down as well, as Blake McCandless will soon move.
So here's Olsen coming down. The 71 of McCandless goes to P1. DJ Cummings behind also will enter the lane. So will Christopher Tate and Jordan Buster. So make that a 4-car group that comes in this time by. Now make it 5. That's going to be Mario Miranda, I believe, in the number 89 that's going to head on in. Actually, never mind. That is not Miranda. He's out in 4th place. But there is another driver back there that is coming down pit road this time by. So there's the 24. And Presley Sora just unlapped himself from the race leader as it's Brandon Howe from the 9 car, there. So looks like he's going to head on in. Adam Cabot has taken over the lead. Blake McCandless is hopping on the brakes. Cabot made the pass, but he's coming in anyway. Lap 25.
Yeah, I think the panic button kind of went off for a lot of guys when they saw them pit 2 laps ago. They're going to be like, crap, we need to pit now and match them, because the longer that you go, the more time that you lose. So I think they were all like, well, we got to change our strategy here pretty quick. So I don't think you're going to see just a whole lot of people try to stretch this into a one-stop race. So if they do this, this is certainly just say, yeah, we're going to pit here in about 50 or 55 laps or so.
Looks like playoff driver Ryan Vargas is also in with this group. So is Gary Sexton in the 3. And that will hand the lead over to Bailey Turner in the 5. We should expect him to come down pit road anytime soon. There he is, pivoting to the left. Hops on the brakes, he enters pit road, and that 49ers Chevrolet will come on in. How about good news for Bailey Turner on the NFL side of things? I mean, he's bearing the 49ers paint scheme. He's been doing so for a while with this Gen 4 car, and now he gets to see the 49ers head to their second Super Bowl in the last, 4 or so years? Going to take on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they had him in the first half though, but the Niners they picked it up. I was like, man, it's a blowout, and then it was a blowout the other direction. So I'm sure Bailey Turner had a good weekend. Now that first half might have got him, but
yeah, but it's never the first half that ends the game. It's always the fourth quarter as soon as it goes through. I mean, the 49ers, great game that they put up against the Detroit Lions. That was a stunner. As here comes Turner out of pit road. Cole Cabry over the switch over will come over to the race lead. Brandon Brown should assume third place. Presley Sora sandwiched in the middle for second. And Sora will have a deficit of about almost 2 seconds before he gets to the 51 of Cole Cabry, who we can argue so far, Dylan, over these playoffs has been the best driver entirely. When you think about consistency, how he has been able to run through the playoffs, his worst finish of the playoffs was 13th at Talladega Superspeedway with the next-gen cars. Every other race, he's either finished in the front, the race lead, he's finished in the top 3, or at the Daytona Road Course, his worst finish since Talladega, a position of 6th place at the checkered flag. So for Cole Cabry, I mean, not surprising that we're seeing him lead laps this early on and command the field. He's been one of the best to watch for only in his first M&R season.
I mean, Cole's been putting on a show. He's having a dream section of the playoffs here. He's put together 2 really good races. His clunker races have been few and far between. I mean, he's been just lighting it up this year. I mean, he's got to be the favorite, provided he makes it after tonight, which he's trending that way. If he makes the Final Four, I can't imagine there's anyone that would not be, or that he would be a favorite over everyone there, I would imagine. But he's had good races. He's strung them together. He's limited his mistakes, if any, that he's had. And again, he's been the best player, as you mentioned, through the playoffs.
And he's got a 13-point advantage over the driver who has second in Group 1 standings, and that is Josh Slate, who finds himself in a tight-knit battle with the Season 4 champ in Adam Cabot. This is under strategy. This is for 7th place, and Slate's got the 17 for now, but they're going to remain door-to-door entering Turn 3, catching up on the likes of Devin Henry and Nick Olson. Car number 24 a little slow out of 4. They'll look to split the Grit Esports Marketing Chevrolet. Cabot to the inside. Now we're 3 wide heading to Turn 1.
Oh, man, they're getting after it right now. They're 3 wide, high, wide, and handsome there as they go down to 1. I mean, things are starting to pick up here. You have everyone that was kind of panicking. Well, maybe a few that were panicking about the pit road strategy, but right now it's getting dicey up here along with Adam Cabot as they go down the backstretch, but it's business is picking up.
Slate holding on here in Turn 3. The Ashland, Virginia native is going to give away the spot to the 17 of Adam Cabot. Now, 3 points separate these 2 drivers for the transfer spot heading into tonight's race, but lo and behold, they are still behind Presley Sora, who has settled nicely 2.3 seconds back of the leader in 2nd place, but Slate's not done yet. Outside move, Turn 1 for position.
Down going through turn number 2 right now. It's getting real dicey. Adam Cabot, Joshua Slate fighting for every single point that they can get. This is a playoff battle. Remember, Joshua Slate holds that 2nd position in group number 1, so he wants to keep that Adam Cabot machine close to him as much as possible during the night. If he can't be just way ahead of him, he wants to be at least 1 car within him, because otherwise he will move on ahead of Adam Cabot.
And they are going to remain door-to-door. This is great news for Michael Fisher, who will step right into this battle with open arms, and he could take 2 spots in one fell swoop if he's able to get there. Back into Turn 1, we're still door-to-door, and they are losing time, as a matter of fact, Dylan, to the 5th place car in Devin Henry. So maybe over the long run, this could hurt these 2 drivers as they move forward, because at the end of the day, they're still going to try and chase Presley Sora, who at this moment is holding on to the transfer spot, and Cabot's giving it all that he's got. Now entering turns 3 and 4, still doesn't have Slate. Both of them are talking to each other over the intercoms in sim, and here comes Fisher to make it a 3-car fight.
Now, Michael Fisher was just looking at his chops, looking at these guys, and along behind him, DJ Cummings is starting to step into this battle. But I think these two are trying to figure out, hey, if we get in line, we got to catch that dude in the 98 car if we want a shot to make the Final Four. Because, like you said, Presley Sora is running second. He's having an excellent race right now. But these two running side by side like this is Devin Henry, or excuse me, that's DJ Cummings hops in there. It's not good for them because they're just basically beating up on each other when it's only going to make it worse for both of them.
And here comes Fisher splitting the difference. He'll get paid tenfold, making the position move into turns 3 and 4. Slides up right ahead of the 0-1. Slate nabs the outside wall. And that's good for Adam Cabot, who will go right back to the inside, take away the draft. Adam Cabot will take hold of 7th place. And here comes DJ Cummings. Fight to the inside in turn 1 for 8th.
And DJ Cummings was another one that was just looking at his chops here. He's like, man, I'm catching these guys pretty good. Steven Ellis at that 46, that Frank Kimmel-esque machine back there, as he's rolling around the top 10 right now. But I think that was not, I'm not going to say it wasn't smart by those two. You're racing, obviously, for every position, every point counts. But that cost them a lot of time, racing side by side like that. And Presley Sora probably is getting a lot of information from his crew chief about, hey, these guys are fighting up back in 5th and 6th place. Just put it in cruise control. Just stay ahead of these two and you'll be fine.
And that's probably why he'll let Brandon Brown get away with this position scot-free, because there's really no point fighting a non-playoff driver. You've got a lot of gap behind you before you get to the 4th place car, Ronnie Osmer. And what a run for Brandon Brown so far tonight. Has jumped up from 16th to P2 here in the opening 35 laps of this race. And Brown looking for his best finish of the season since a 14th place outing earlier on in the campaign. So what a semifinal race this is building up to be for Brandon Brown, putting himself to P2.
Yeah, he's been fantastic tonight. Like you mentioned, he's been kind of hovering between that top 15 area, but this has been almost an out-of-body experience as he's now moved up to 2nd place past Presley Sora right now. He pitted a lap earlier than all these guys up here, and last couple laps, he's been one of the faster cars on the racetrack.
40.645, and that was almost 300ths or so slower than your race leader, or actually faster than your race leader, Cole Cabrey in the 51. So instead, Brown is so far one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, if you're not counting Ronnie Osmer and Devin Henry, 4th and 5th, that are clocking in 40.6s and 40.4s around the 2-mile D-shaped oval. This time by, it's a 40.507, another 3/10 almost gain on the race leader. So Brandon Brown is hauling the mail here lap 37.
Oh, 100% right now. He's running that top line. He's got it up against the boards right there. It's really a very aesthetic view as you're on board with him here down the back straightaway. He's making up time in a hurry on Cole Cabrey. And, Brandon Brown, he's not in the playoffs, but you still want to win. This is the second to last race of Monday Night Racing, and, before this gets set away for the time being, you could say you're a Monday Night Racing winner, even if you're not involved in the playoffs.
That's a really great point. And, it goes back to the conversation we always have, right, about playoff drivers versus non-playoff drivers, and how the guys that aren't running for the championship, it's not like they're running for no reason, right? They want to run for a win. They want to run competitively. And while the playoff drivers have a bigger outlook in mind, they're going to catch up or get caught by those non-playoff drivers. And Brandon Brown is one of those guys that is looking to put himself in the win column. He is one of those guys who has been around for a very long time, but has never been able to capture a Monday Night Racing victory. So to capture your first in the second to last ever full season race in Monday Night Racing history surely would be monumental. He holds on to the gap over Presley Sora, closing in on the race leader. He's still 2.5 seconds back to the 51, as we'll tally in on the fight for 7th. It looks like Decon Joshua Slate has beat Adam Cabot, and here's the 17 at the mercy of being passed by Steven Ellis in the 46. Moving up to the high side in DJ Cummings, last driver in the top 10. What a run by Slate to move on by again.
That's probably a 4 or 5 lap stretch that Adam Cabot probably wishes he could have had back. I know he's fighting hard for positions and points right there, trying to fight back after the disqualification last week, but he burned up his tires pretty good. He was running that line that is uncomfortable to what he's been driving, more than likely, but now he's fighting for his life against cars that he was just better than earlier in the race. But now, because he has worse tires than them, essentially, they're going to go on by here in just a couple laps.
It's still 85 laps to go, so you can argue a lot of time left for Cabot to pick this up, but this really isn't early good indications if you're the 17 of Cabot, who has been saving for most of these runs, and it looks like he's going to give up this spot to the 46 of Steven Ellis, who's going to make his way by, still side by side as they enter turn 3, but the 17 falls back to 9th and could be at the helm of falling back through beneath the top 10. And what we talked about, Dylan, the fact that the bread and butter for Adam Cabot is a hard-to-drive car mixed with a hard-to-drive track. Well, we'd argue as well that for Joshua Slate, this might be his bread and butter. If you turn back the clock and you go to summer of 2023, Summer Series we raced here at Auto Club, which you were the play-by-play for that, Dylan. You saw it firsthand. Joshua Slate was the best finisher out of all the current playoff drivers, where he came home in 5th. Now, it was a non-playoff driver who won the race. It's right now Mario Morendo who picked up the win fantastically, but Josh Slate knows how to perform well this type of hard-to-drive combo, so you can't call him a slouch either, as here he comes to the outside looking on the 34 of Michael Fisher, who will shut the door in turns 3 and 4.
You see this car starting to move up the racetrack, but yeah, Joshua Slate, he was excellent in the Summer Series, and I kind of had an idea if he got into the playoffs and figured out a way to get to this round of 8, so to speak, that he would have a shot, because 3 of the last 4 races are, of course, Gen 4 races at big tracks like this, and he just almost pretty much dominated there in the Summer Series, which, again, that was fun. But, you know, he's putting together good races, and he's putting himself in a good position to make the Final Four based off of tracks that he's been strong at.
Again, making the bid for the inside. Michael Fisher gets a piece of the outside wall, so good opportunity there for Slate to slide up in front. And the 01 car moving his way to 6th place and could catch up to Devin Henry in enough time. I mean, we've talked about the runs and how you'll have the comers and goers. And for Dylan, you made a great point there that as the tire degrades, I mean, you're going to have those drivers who push a little hard, fall back to the field, and of course, those who save earlier in the run start to slowly creep up. And Slate might have been one of those guys who saved enough, even despite the fight with Adam Cabot for position multiple laps in, because Devin Henry's up front, Ronnie Osmer's up front, Michael Fisher was up in front. They were hard pushing drivers early in this stint, and Slate's starting to take advantage.
Yeah, Slate's he's just kind of in a holding pattern. I think he wants to try to get by this guy, but he's also realizing, you know, it might take him 2 or 3 laps to get by, so he's probably just saving tires, just happy he's behind him now. If he starts losing a lot of ground, he'll want to get by, but he's been having a good race so far.
Great race for Josh Slate so far, but all of them trying to catch up to Cole Cabrey in the 51, who has extended his lead up to 4.3 seconds. We mentioned that Brandon Brown was a little faster than the leader. Looks like he has pushed the car a little too hard over this run, and it's going to get caught this time through by Presley Sora, who's going to look to mount up a run here out of turn 4 and make the case known for 2nd place. But this is going to make things more interesting, Decon, when we consider what's up next on the pit cycle, because of course 25 laps in, that seemed to be the perfect marker for everyone to come in on their strategy, you know, plus or minus a lap or 2. So now into the 2nd stint, you're 22 laps in. We're starting to reach the money lap, probably at around lap 50. How do you attack this with all the separation taking control? As here comes Sora, gonna look here for 2nd on Brown.
I just wonder what a lot of these guys are just going through right now, because some of them are probably going to try to split this into a one-stop race the rest of the way from lap 25. So you might see a pit around lap 75, but, you know, if they have the proper allotment of tires, you know, pitting on lap 25 or lap 50 might be the move. You see Brandon Brown coming down pit road.
Yeah, Brown was off sequence mostly from everybody else. He was one of those guys to come in all by himself. Looks like Michael Fisher in the 32 car, the Speed Factor Ford Fusion, is going to join him on the pit lane. Nobody else is going to look to go to the left side entering turn 4, and it looks like nobody else is going to come in for now. But over the next couple of laps, we should expect a bulk of the field to start coming in. Some drivers queuing up over the radio, so we should expect some talks about entering pit lane and how early you're going to come in. Speak of which, the race leader, Cole Cabrey, in this time, and there's Steve Alfon in front of him.
Yeah, a lot of guys are going to come as they're keying up the microphone to tell everyone they're coming down to pit. You know, next 2 or 3 laps, you're going to see them start to file down pit road here.
Josh Slate, Devin Henry. It looks like Steven Ellis in the 46 has come in. More drivers should expect to come in the next couple of laps, but for now, another 3 trio here at this point. There's the 51-year race leader coming in, of course, for a set of Goodyear Eagles. Going to lift up the right side. He'll get the left side lifted up as Presley Sora takes over the race lead. He heads over to the left. Looks like he will enter pit road this time at lap 47. Ronnie Osmer will follow. Adam Cabot, who's the mystery driver in all of this, who saved over this run, he'll float up right out of 4. He's going to stay out an extra lap and take over the lead.
So one thing we mentioned in the pre-race show, they have 3 sets of tires laying in the pits. If you count the set that's on the car, that's 4 sets. So just basic math, 125, the distance of the race, divided by 4. It's roughly about 31 laps that all these tires need to go. Now, everyone pitting between lap 23 and 25, that's way lower than 31. I don't know if any of your math majors out there. But the next stint, they went about 23, 25 laps. So at some point, everyone's going to have to stretch a set of tires almost double the length than they have all race so far. But, you might see a bunch of guys, I say a bunch, you might have 1 or 2 guys that they might try to stretch and keep this one set of tires until the end of the race. I would imagine the way everything's trending, everyone's going to pit about lap 80, lap 85 or so, and try to stretch this out. But you might have someone that might try to run as long as humanly possible on this set of tires that take that last set, if there's a caution, 10, 15 to go, and try to cash in some extra spots. So this is where we're going to see the strategy start to work itself in.
This is probably the peak of strategy at this point of the race as we approach halfway. And there's a look at Cabot, current race leader, by a standing of about a second or so above DJ Cummings in P2. And the 17, we should expect him to come down pit road at some point, but it's not going to be this lap. It looks like the 10 of DJ Cummings has hopped on the brakes. He is coming in this time by at lap 49. Now, you were looking earlier at Presley Sora in the 98, who was still sort of trying to get through the entire cycle here, and he has fallen up until this point to 19th, and that should all obviously change as the entire field comes in for their respective stops. But he said before this race on Twitter and said, we're going to put on a heck of a show tonight, and he said the most important race of my season so far is this. And for the 98, this is going to be his bid at getting back into the championship 4, which he made headlines in season 5 when, number 1, he was able to win multiple races in his young career, and then number 2, being able to get that super insane, dramatic last lap championship finish against Anthony Alfredo coming out of turn 4 at Homestead, Miami, in front of a live crowd in Charlotte, North Carolina. So for Presley Sora, I mean, this is going to be another entrance in the championship 4, a state where he missed last season with Chase Cabre, Adam Cabot, Corey Heim, and the likes around him. The 98 was not in that conversation, and tonight could be the difference to make it in.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, Presley, he was riding the momentum from that last year. It was kind of unexpected that he won that championship. Of course, he was performing well, but just the way that it happened and the finishing position where he finished last year, he's been kind of up and down, but he's settling into a groove right now.
And so he will look to completely cycle around. He's moved up to 11th, and there is the race leader finally coming in. Adam Cabot in the 17, moving his way to pit road. Fellow playoff driver Ryan Vargas is also going to join, and so will the 96 of Colin Fern, a driver we haven't really talked about much throughout this race, who doesn't have the best memories at Auto Club if you look back to season 4, where he was a championship driver, overshot his pit box late in the race, but then on lap 1 got wrecked by Shane Van Gisbergen exiting turn 2, but Fern is looking to erase all those bad memories. He comes in at pit road, 69 points gained over the first 2 races of this second round. We'll see what he can do as he comes out of pit road this time by, and Bailey Turner assumes the lead as Blake McCandless behind him comes down pit road.
Yeah, what's that SVG guy up to? You heard anything about him the last 6-7 months or so?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that he's going to be full-time NASCAR racing?
Oh, yeah. That and
yeah, just a little nugget there. You didn't know.
I mean, he was the first NASCAR driver to win on debut since the first NASCAR race ever. So, no big deal. That SVG guy ended up pretty good.
And also, he is the leading all-time wins leader. If you're not looking at, any other driver that's inactive, Nick DeGroot has the most at 9. But if we're talking about a more active driver, Shane Van Gisbergen and Adam Cabot are tied at 7. So, Cabot talked to us last week about, the opportunity at beating Shane Van Gisbergen and being the active all-time wins leader in Monday Night Racing history, as his teammate Bailey Turner comes in for pit road. This should cycle the lead back out, of course, to Cole Cabre in second place, who will now assume P1 this time by Brandon Brown, Presley Sora.
Oh, we got someone spinning at pit road.
That's Mark Rebillis. Yeah, around.
Yeah, I just haven't looked down pit road and the way the camera panned and see a car going the wrong way. It was Mark Verbillis. But I take a look at the replays. First time we had a replay of this race is, he's just getting his usual service. I wonder if he just stood on the gas when he was coming out of pit road, but I really don't know what happened. That's the most exciting thing we've had happen so far is, he just stood on it coming out of the pit box and looped it. No
Have
harm,
you ever
no
seen
foul,
that
but
before, Decon?
I've seen it. He got a little excited coming out pit road. Happens to the best of us, but no harm, no foul. Didn't hit the wall. I think, if anything, he'll probably have a really good outlap here because those tires are a little bit more warmed up. But he didn't hit nothing, so he's good to go. So that really the first incident of the race so far, I believe, is we haven't had anyone run into each other or go through the grass or anything. But Mark always makes it exciting, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. The Arizona native, he is dead last now in 25th, so a lap down. That's part of the bad news from that spin out of pit road, and he is currently the 4th driver a lap down alongside Brandon Half, who is going to fight for position here soon enough if he catches up to him. Ford Martin and Christopher Tate leading up to 22nd place. Now, I've really never seen that before. Drivers spinning out, exiting the stall. I've seen drivers definitely coming in have the problems. If they hit somebody or entering pit road, you hop on the brakes, car unsettles, and you spin, but never coming out. That's a first for me.
I went back and looked at it. I think he entered in 2nd gear and then he shifted down to 1st. So I think, there's obviously an RPM difference there, but I do want to talk about Mark real quick. He's more known for his photography. He had a hell of a picture of Jason Kelsey leaning outside of the press box when the Bills and the Chiefs were playing, of him when he had his shirt off and he was holding a big Coors Light in his hand. I mean, it was a picture I saw circulating around the internet, and I'm reading this article and said, it's Mark Rebillis that took this photo. It was like USA Today, Sports Illustrated. It was everywhere. So Mark Rebillis, a very accomplished photographer, as he's running around in, peak last. But we want to talk about the good stuff that Mark Rebillis does as well.
And honestly, Decon, we don't really mention him enough as we should. We don't mention him as much as the top driver. But yeah, he's been around this series for a really long while, does a lot of great work for USA Today, and like you said, phenomenal photography work off the sim, and has been around this series for such a long time, been a good friend, I think a grade A troller to everyone in the M&R info chat for sure. He definitely knows how to rile people up and make a lot of jokes, but so awesome to see Mark Rebillis running to the end of this M&R season here in Season 7 as he rides that big core machine out of turn 4, and I think that was Brandon Half in front, still fighting for that 24th place position. But met Mark Rebillis at the Daytona 500 earlier in 2023, and he was a lot of great fun to talk to. Really nice guy, and it was so cool to gang up with all the former M&R drivers and current active M&R drivers. And Rebillis was one of them. Really cool guy, and really great guy in person.
Oh yeah, we could talk about Mark Rebillis and how good he is at photography and what a good dude he is and how much of a troll he is for the next 3 hours. But we want to give him his flowers. So I mean, after that, which was I hate to say, it's been exciting to see his strategy. That was the most exciting thing that's happened in the race so far.
Yeah, we've had a really clean race up until this point. Still no yellows as of lap 59, and I don't really want to commentators jinx it, but I feel like I'm gonna say it at some point, whether I like it or not. We still haven't had a caution yet. As we
you gotta say it
halfway tonight, you have to say it. It's been a really clean race, and I believe that this might be our first flag-to-flag race if we get there since Homestead of Miami. I don't know who the winner of that race was. Cole Cabry, the 51, who leads this race by 3.8 seconds.
Yeah, you gotta mention it. It's like when I had this happen in a college baseball broadcast. We had a no-hitter going into the 8th inning. I have to mention it because, it's something that, someone just tuned in. They're going to want to know, hey, there hasn't been a yellow yet in this race. Or like, hey, pitcher that's on the mound right now, he hadn't give up a hit yet. So thankfully he finished it. So this was at a small college. But yeah, so you call it an announcer's jinx, but if you give it announcer's jinx, you're just doing your job. So that's just how I see it.
That's true. I mean, you have to talk about the developing stories as it moves through. I mean, you can't really go flag to flag and not say that it was a really clean race start to finish. That's what we've had so far. We've been treated to some phenomenal racing, and a lot of this is coming down to strategy, as there's Adam Cabot sort of fluctuating in and out of this lap traffic situation. There's Brandon Half right in front of him, so 17 will have to flush underneath Half and possibly make it 3 wide here with the 07 of Ford Martin. This is going to get really contentious. But for the 17 of Cabot, a very interesting position he finds himself in, Decon, because obviously in every single run, he's been saving, and he's doing so right now. He's still clutching and coasting. Nice onboard look here into turns 1 and 2. He is full coasting. As he almost got into Ford Martin there, coming out of 2.
Oh,
and he gets
trouble!
into it.
We
Martin's
jinxed it.
around into the outside wall, and that's the first yellow at lap 61.
I guess that could be our fault.
Oh, man. And there is no damage assessed to the 17 of Adam Cabot, but that was really close between those two. We're going to try to take a second look whether there was actually contact or whether Ford Martin just lost it all by himself. But there's the really tough damage on the 07. We'll get another look at it. 17 goes under. And Dylan, I don't think there was any contact between the two. I think the 07 just got loose.
You know, it looks like from where we're at, and I'm taking a different look at it as you're on board with Ford Martin. I don't see any contact. It looked like the air just almost upset him, or something may have happened there between the two cars, but I don't think that they touched, really. I mean, you know, Adam Cabot does a good job controlling his car, so does Ford Martin, but, you know, I don't think any contact happened there. Is good job by our producer, Eddie, to get us a good look there, and, yeah, there's daylight between the cars, so, I mean, we're under our first caution of the day, but, you know, heavy damage to that Ford Martin machine, as everyone's going to pit here, by the way. Yeah, that was just a weird situation there.
And the 17 did get hit on the way in, but it doesn't look like he picked up any right rear damage when he got hit as the 07 came down the racetrack. But you're right, Dylan, it doesn't look like there was any contact. It just appeared that either the air came off of the spoiler or something happened there. But the 07 goes sideways, heads right into the outside wall, and I think you just reacted to what I was about to say there, Decon. We've got drivers that are staying out here. It appears top 5 are going to remain on the racetrack.
Well, I was also reacting to the fact that Adam Cabot, this is a very underrated part of this. He was given fault in that incident, as it looked like, you know, there wasn't much contact there at all, but, you know, he's got to be careful now, because the second wreck will result in a DQ like we saw last week. So that's something that will develop later in the race that's going to probably become an issue.
Yeah, flirting with disaster here, and that's what happened at Daytona. And that second incident, if you're wondering when it happened, it was the white flag entering the tri-oval to take the checker. That's when he moved down on the racetrack, got into another driver, created that crash leading up to the start-finish line that helped Mario Miranda pull away to get his second career MNR victory. And that's exactly what the Adamans deemed as fault on the 17. Gave him that DQ, gave him last place points, and this is the last thing that you would want happen to you, Decon, if you're the 17 of Adam Cabot. You've been sort of falling back through the weeds throughout this race, trying to save behind the wheel of the race car, and now all of a sudden you're docked with this incident points as we get to halfway in tonight's Mach 10 Digital 250, and now you're one little mistake away from being taken out of a championship 4 spot.
Yeah, let's throw a wrench into this race big time with that, because now Adam Cabot, he's going to restart second, but he's got to be really conservative.
So your top, looks like 6 drivers are going to stay out. That includes Colin Fern, and make that 4 playoff drivers. Sora, Cabot, Turner, and the number 96. So all of them are going to stay out here. First car on fresh tires is the 32 of Michael Fisher. Now, give or take, this is about a 10 or so lap advantage for Fisher and everybody else who just came in. A lot of those drivers, though, did not take tires, and Eddie Smith, our producer, definitely pointed that out correctly. A lot of 8 and 7 second stops, so it's all about taking that extra splash of fuel. But you got to ask the question, Dylan, how much of an impact will that have if this race just goes green, strategy filled like it has been?
I mean, I would say if it goes green, the top 6 have made their bed. They're going to, well, everyone pretty much has, so they're going to have to go over half the race on that set of tires if they want this strategy to pan out. And they're currently reviewing the incident a little closer, as, I mean, unless we're both just blind, there was no contact between those two cars, Ford Martin and Adam Cabot. So I think, hopefully, now the race control can deem whatever, but I think they're going to deem that just as a racing incident.
Well, so far, Adam Cabot is not danger-free yet, at least for now, unless they rescind that decision for the 17's fault on the contact, or what appeared to be contact from their end. Didn't look like contact on our end. They're going to review that call. We'll see what happens. But out of turn 4, pace car makes the left to the entrance of pit road. We've got a split decision by a good load of the field. Presley Sora, Adam Cabot to the restart, lap 65. Great start by the 2 leaders. Sora still fighting on the inside. The 17 will have the advantage. Coming out of 4, Bailey Turner looking to dive right under the 98 for second.
Yeah, that 49ers machine, we've gone into the second half of the race. He's trying to take advantage like the 49ers did in the second half the other night as he's moved up into the picture now. As he's getting close to the lead. There's Adam Cabot has assumed the lead here, and a night he desperately needs to win here.
Bailey Turner in second, looking to rush through the traffic like Christian McCaffrey does, and here he goes to the inside, still there for second. And mind you, Colin Fern not out of the picture either. This is the best we've seen the 96 run all night long. The 17 parks it coming out of the corner. Here comes the 96, making it 3 wide for second on the backstretch.
Oh, they're getting awful close as they're going to go down to three abreast right here. I think Presley Sora is going to say, yeah, screw that, I'm out of here. So now they're side by side for second place right now. As Colin Fern, Colin Fern, he does this every week. He just hovers in the back, just waits for a long time, and then bam, he just appears up front. I don't know how he does it. He's like the magic man, I guess.
Just sort of able to get to the front without a batting eye, but the 98's going to make sure that the fight is not going to go away too easily. He's going to make it case down to the inside, but the 96 is going to get the run. How about Turner with a big lunge on the inside out of 2? He's got the nose ahead for the lead.
Oh, trouble in the back.
Track, and a big crash on the back straightaway. Gary Sexton and Josh Slate in it. And that is terrible news for Josh Slate, who came into tonight's race with a transfer spot in hand. He pitted for 4 fresh tires on the last stop and ends up in a crash with the 3 car.
He was so close to getting by this one, and now he got absolutely hammered after he spun out, but we're going to follow him along here on this replay as they're going. It's a big gaggle of cars here, and he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time as Gary Sexton was trying to move up the track, and he came across the front end of Michael Fisher, and Joshua Slate was so close to getting by. He just got hooked, and then he had 2 cars basically hit him after the wreck happened. I think that was the 14 of Jordan Black, and Gary Sexton bounced off him again. But that's going to be a lot of uphill racing the rest of the way for Joshua Slate. Kept it out of the wall, though.
You might consider that the Cinderella story for Josh Slate might come to an end with this incident here. And you're right there, Decon. It just looked like they all came together coming out of the corner, and there was really nothing that Slate could do. He was holding his own line on the outside 3 wide, but that's just the case of racing, especially here at Auto Club. We'll take a look here from Slate's perspective. He's already looking at 4 wide ahead of him. So already there's some danger. He holds his line, he's fine, but then in comes the 3 car, and around the one goes, and he gets that extra hit, a big one in fact. And the worst end of it goes to the 3 of Gary Sexton and those behind him. It looks like Ronnie Osmer in the 55 picked up a lot of damage on that wreck, and he has parked it behind the wall. So his race tonight from Auto Club comes to an end at lap 69.
Yeah, that's a big blow right there. But looks like Joshua Slate, he's got just a little rear end damage right here. I think he might be able to get it fixed as he's going to come down pit road right now and get that taken care of. But all in all, not a lot of damage to that car. Probably the tires are barking right now. Those dogs barking. But other than that, I think Joshua might actually be okay. But he'll have to alter his strategy a little bit.
He does. And you got to think, too, about the tire sets that we have available in this race. You know, Slate doesn't want to use them up so early now with about 57 laps to go. There's still a couple of runs left that we can get in, and a lot of tire degradation that will happen from here to the checkered flag. Who knows if more cautions come out from there and more strategy kicks in, too. So for Slate, he's going to remain in this race, although he's going to lose all that track position. Will drop down to 19th. He's going to stay in the race, though, for now, and look to keep his championship 4 bid alive for the moment. And if we're talking about good news, well, then look no further than second place Adam Cabot. He just got the green light. He's ready to go because race control just told him, looks like the incident that he was docked for with Ford Martin, they have rescinded the penalty. So no 1 out of 2 for Adam Cabot this time.
Yeah, that's the right decision. You know, we don't, it's not like I'm trying to criticize race control, but it was one of those, like, might want to take just a little closer look at that, and they did, and they got it right. So that's all that we hope for the with the race control. Who does a fantastic job, by the way. Just make sure we get all the calls right, make sure we're good to go. It's kind of like officials at a basketball game, like both you and me know. As long as they get the calls right, we really don't care how the process happens.
That's true. It doesn't matter if they take 10 minutes just to look at that monitor and see if that call is correct or not. If they get it right, then everyone knows it's a good thing. Unless you're the team that the call's against, then I guess probably not the good news. But for Cabot and for even Turner, too, I mean, both of them teammates who could work together up here. This is good news, and Adam Cabot doesn't have to tread the water as lightly if he wants to continue this race and make it to the championship finale at Chicagoland. We'll reset the top 10 for you for this restart at lap 71 in tonight's Mach 10 Digital 250. Bailey Turner is on the inside with the race lead. Cabot, his teammate, up top in row number 1. Colin Fern, who made his way to 3rd here on this most recent restart. He's going to be there on inside row number 2. Presley Soar going to be outside in position number 4. So your top 4 occupied by playoff competitors. Nick Olsen having a phenomenal race tonight from Fontana. He rolls into the top 5. DJ Cummings having an effective, quiet night from Auto Club. He rolls into 6th place. Mario Miranda will be 7th. Cole Cabry, so far our dominant driver, leading the most laps up until this point. He comes away with 8th. Ryan Vargas will be in 9th. And Michael Fisher rounds out the top 10. So this is going to be a really contentious restart between those old tire cars, and then everybody 7th on back has relatively new rubber. Still have the opportunity to use that advantage as they will. We'll see what happens here with 55 laps to go. So pace car is down, all up to the discretion of the 5 car. We can assume the 17 will know when Turner goes, launching up to the start-finish line. Green flag back in the air, and here comes Fern to the inside for position number 2.
Kenneth, I'm going to apologize ahead of time, but I think that was a pretty good restart for the 49ers machine of Bailey Turner.
Wow, what a pun, but I mean, you have to be right, because the 5 car leading the command out of turn 2, but here comes the 96. Woo! Good run off the corner, looking to the inside for the lead in turn 3.
Colin Fern's hungry. He wants a win. He's not in the, well, actually, he is in the playoff picture. A win for tonight could put him into the Final Four, as I was misreading my notes right here. But, Colin Fern, he's put together solid races, but he's looking for that win.
And Fern hasn't picked up a W in M&R since Season 5 in the penultimate race. He knows a thing or two about having his back against the wall in playoff scenarios. Contact, a touch into turn 1.
And it looks like Nick Olsen in the wall as well. Just he's grazing the wall as they go down the backstretch here. They're side by side. Bailey Turner, Colin Fern not leaving an inch on each other.
The 96 is giving Bailey Turner a run for his money. They're going to remain door-to-door in 3 and 4. Nick Olsen attempted to run at it the last lap, hit the outside wall, and who's entering the picture? Cole Cabry in the 51 car. So we're going to have a fantastic battle between all playoff drivers entering back to turn 1. Fern on the inside, Turner up top, back to the first corner. We're still even.
Still side by side. You see a couple cars like Ryan Vargas, Nick Olsen right up against the wall as Bailey Turner got a little loose off of turn 2 right there. But you're going to see a lot of guys start fanning out here. Bailey Turner kind of riding that second line. He's content with that. Otherwise, he'd just let Colin Fern go. But through 1 and 2, you saw a lot of guys trying out different lines there.
And what a surprise that Colin Fern was able to get right to the inside of the race leader, and he's going to stay there. More contact between the 2 leaders, and they're going to allow the 51 to have an easy route to the top spot if they continue this battle. But Fern just said, hey, yeah, to Bailey Turner like he was a member of the Outcast. Dive to the inside of turn 1. Fern has it. Slide job. Turner back to the inside. A crossover.
That was an A-plus reference, by the way. I appreciate that. God, they switch positions now. He's on the bottom. They flip. Now Colin Fern's on the top, and now they're going to burn their stuff off evenly. And you know who's right there? That big yellow 51 machine behind them is just like, yeah, you two keep fighting up there. I'll catch up. And Cole Cabry, who has been the dominant driver pretty much of the season, is back in this battle with these 2 up here.
And the dominant driver tonight from Auto Club, leading the most laps up until this point. Fern is going to make another charge at it down low for turn 1. But Cole Cabry has other plans in mind. He is definitely caught up significantly to these 2 in the last lap or so. He'll make the arc into turns 1 and 2 to the inside. Might make it 3 wide for the first spot on the racetrack. He's going to hold back for the moment, but this is as close as it gets. Coming to 50 laps to go.
Oh, this is about to get real hairy right here. Cole Cabre tried to look and make it 3 wide, but he just wasn't quite ready for that move, and I think he will be coming down the front stretches. He's going to stick that nose in there, and Fern's going to protect the bottom, but also he doesn't want to give up too much space. As look at Cole Cabre on the apron right there, and you couldn't stick a piece of paper between Fern and Bailey Turner right there, as they're now 3 wide going into turn 1.
3 wide into the first corner. Cabry's gonna get stuffed down low. Fern is holding on to the middle, and Turner's gonna stay up top. We're still 3 wide, and they almost make contact.
They can't get any closer right now. This is excellent racing up front. We're barely 50 laps to go here.
This is phenomenal stuff from Auto Club, and all 3 of them abreast are playoff drivers. Cabre remains down low, and we are still even coming out of turn 4.
This is
49 to go.
This is incredible stuff right here. And the other crazy part is, you know, Cole's in a separate group by himself, but these two are fighting for their life for this final position up here. Is, you know, they're right next to each other, but Ryan Vargas isn't just having, I say he's not having a strong night. He's in 6th place, but whoever's ahead between these 2 cars is going to occupy that last spot. If it were to end right now.
Has control of Group 2. These 2 are fighting for that transfer spot in the second group. They don't need to worry as much about Cole Cabre taking the lead because he's in Group 1. But these 2 taking the opportunity as here comes Fern. He dives to the inside to pit road at lap 77.
Wow.
And this is no surprise either, Dylan, because the lap before, Presley Sora came in as a playoff driver to pit road. So an early call, 48 laps to go, and this might give them at least one more stop to the end.
Yeah, you heard the radios light up right there. I think Colin Fern, you know, they stretched this out a little bit. You know, they pitted 10 laps earlier than a lot of the guys that ended up being up front. So I think this was pretty close to on schedule right now. But again, just based on the math, they're going to have to run a set of tires just a little bit longer than they would.
And how many questions is this going to raise for everybody else in the field? It looks like for a bulk of them in the back half of the top 10, they're deciding to come in. Christopher Tate has elected to enter pit road. We should watch for everyone else, all of the guys in the playoffs currently still on track. If they want to come in sooner than later, Dylan, is the answer sooner? Is the answer later? How do you attack this now with 2 different types of tire strategies on display?
It all depends on what you've done the first 78 laps or so. I mean, if you've kind of been saving and you're, you know, on the conservative side, yeah, you probably want to pit about lap 100. If you're on the aggressive side, you might want to try to undercut a lot of the guys. If you're a playoff driver, you know, there's 25 cars in the field, but you're really focused on just 3 other guys. So you might be sitting in 10th place, but if those playoff guys are sitting in 6th, 7th, and 8th, you're trying to figure out any advantage that you can have to get back up between them or ahead of them. So you might see a lot of guys try some unorthodox strategies just to try to make it work in the end.
There's guys, though, they're going to extend it as long as they can to the point where they cannot. It looks like Adam Cabot was one of those guys in that camp, and Bailey Turner should follow sooner than later. They got to the basic end of their tank on fuel strategy about lap 27 or so. The 17 decided, I'm going to come in this time by myself. And Bailey Turner, who's going to cross the line for his 27th lap on his stint, he is also looking to come down pit road sooner than later. Now, this is going to force a bulk of these guys, Dylan, Cole Cabre, Miranda, Vargas, Slate, all of them included, to come down pit road pretty late in the going, which might be a big concern just based on the entire cycle of things. We are awaiting if there's going to be a caution that comes out to break the action. But up until this point, this most recent fuel strategy call by a good amount of the field to be about 17, 18 laps into their stint. Now with 45 laps to go, they're going to have a tough decision to make come the end of this race with at least 25 left.
Gonna pull a Dragon Ball Z line on you. We have many of these questions that will be answered in the last 45 laps of this race. Because you know, I had a little note sheet here, but I may as well just throw that away because, you know, who knows what's going to happen here? You might have guys divert from strategy with the last part of this race, or a caution might come out and they have a set of tires saved up. So really don't know what's going to happen over the next 44 laps, but we're going to be here to see it.
Well, if you pull out a Dragon Ball Z reference, Decon, I'm probably just going to pull out a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference and say it's going to be continued. We'll stop it right here. But Mario Miranda and Bailey Turner coming on pit road. Look at this gaggle of cars. Ryan Vargas around this. Brandon Houff, who slots up to second. And then some of the lap cars there, Nick Olsen and Steve Alfont, some of those recent drivers to come down pit road around the top 15 or so, if you look at it in track position. It's going to get really interesting with 12 cars now on the lead lap based on this entire strategy. There's Bailey Turner and Mario Miranda. They're going to flush right in the middle of this huge group, about a lap or so down. And there's Adam Cabot looking to unlap himself from Vargas and from Slate, currently 4th and 3rd on the racetrack.
You know, Cole Cabry's got about a 3-second lead back to Brandon Houff and Joshua Slade. I think all of the guys that are still out are kind of on that same strategy. You know, Brandon Houff, Cole Cabry. Cole Cabry is pitted a little earlier than everyone else. As Ryan Vargas has come down pit road, he pitted on the same lap as Cole Cabry, but all these guys, Blake McCandless, Steven Ellis, Joshua Slate, Brandon Houff, all pitted on lap 68 alongside Jordan Buster, who's made his first appearance into the top 6 this evening.
Good run by Jordan Buster, who was sort of in the middle of this strategy, about 15 laps into his stint. But yeah, this strategy is getting very fun here in the waning laps, 42 laps to go. We're still anticipating a bulk of these leaders to at least come in for one more stop before this race is all said and done. And it is getting scary up here in 3 and 4. This is all the traffic, by the way. Mario Miranda back in 16th place, catching up to Steve Alfont. This is about a 4th position. And then Josh Slay, who has to deal with Brandon Houff ahead of him in 2nd. And then all of the cars on fresh tires that are making their way around. Dylan, as a driver, what do you think about these positions where you're sort of on the pressure of lap cars passing you on fresh tires and looking for a lane versus trying to play offense at the same time for a lead lap position? This is for 2nd.
I mean, if you're like in the spot of Cole Cabry where he's got nothing but lap cars around him, I mean, there's not just a whole lot you can do. You just kind of let him go and just delay. You don't delay the inevitable, basically, because you could fight him and try to keep him behind him, but all these guys, they just have fresher tires than him, and they're just going to zoom on by. But he's still got about a 2-second gap back to Brandon Houff. So Cole, I think, is going to be just fine letting these guys go by, because again, it would just delay the inevitable. Plus, you never know, someone might just get mad and just run through them and cause another wreck.
That's true. We'll see, though. Slate currently running in 3rd, trying to chase down the 9 car. And we've got a 3-way fight for 11th. Adam Cabot here on the back straightaway, getting around Colin Fern. Bailey Turner, the teammate, looks to do the exact same right behind Christopher Tate and company and some of those that pitted most recently. But Cabot, Fern, and Turner have the fresher set of tires, so this should be a relatively easy decision to make when they come around the traffic right in front. One thing that I wanted to mention that we haven't talked about all night long, Dylan, there's one playoff driver missing in tonight's race, and it's the other Cabry, Chase, who came into tonight's race with 85 points picked up in round number 2, only 4 points ahead of Ryan Vargas, who's racing tonight. Turner back by 11 points, who's there, and then about 16 points before you get back to Colin Fern. So we might have a full-blown, wide-open race for the Group 2 bracket at the end of tonight, because while Chase Cabry's out, we don't know how many points he's going to lose in this race. Ryan Vargas, Turner, and Fern are putting up masterclass events, and we'll see who comes out first. But this is all going to be a really close fight on who's going to have the top 2 spots, and that fight for 2nd might just be the closest we've ever seen if we're not talking about Group 1.
But you're 100% correct. I mean, there is still the chance Chase Cabry could still make it next week, even though he's not here tonight. If these other 3 end up wrecking and they get a low amount of points, but it's very unlikely because all 3 of them had showed instances of them being strong tonight. Ryan Vargas, you know, he'd been hovering around the top 5. Bailey Turner, Colin Fern, I mean, they were just battling for the lead. So, I mean, if you're Chase Cabry, you might be watching on your phone, whatever you have going on, but you know, you got to be sweating bullets here. Speaking of Cabry's, Cole Cabry's going to come down pit road this time by.
Just got to be crossing your fingers and hoping to die as Cole Cabry comes in on pit road. So race leader will enter in. Brandon Houff and Joshua Slate will make this a 2-way fight for what will be the race lead here, but they should come down pit road sooner than later. So there they are, the 9 car of Brandon Houff. Nice job to see him inside. It would have made the playoffs this season had he not forfeited his spot just because he wasn't able to make all the races, and it was a shame that Brandon Houff had to give that up after earning it in, I believe, the last race of the regular season. But here comes Slate. Battle to the inside. Slate's got the lead here with 37, coming to 36 laps to go. We're still awaiting that one stop, and what's the biggest point here, Dylan? Over this cycle, Bailey Turner will have the net race lead, pitting 7 laps to go and up into the top 10.
Yeah, Joshua Slate, I mean, if he finishes where he's at, he's going to be in the top 2, regardless of what the other 2 drivers do. So, again, we're going to see a lot in these last 35 or so laps. As Cole Cabrey now exiting the pits, he's going to duck right in around those pack of cars that were up front earlier. So, again, Joshua Slate's going to assume the lead. Brandon Houff right behind him. Their strategy, I would imagine, they're trying to just run as long as possible and hope for a caution. But a lot of these guys have unlapped themselves. So, again, we'll see what happens here.
Oh, Houff had to
They're
back
4
up
wide.
There. Yeah, they were about 4 wide. It's getting really close, and DJ Cummings is starting to enter the foray, so he's going to make a move to the inside here. Devin Henry also in this group 2, about a lap down in 20th, but still, bunch of traffic just congesting here in turn 1, and I saw Brandon Houff had to back out the lap before because he was stuck in the middle 3 wide, and he said, maybe the fight for first isn't what I really want right now if I'm stuck 3 wide and have a possibility to wreck this thing before it's all said and done. So he would give the gap to around 7/10 of a buffer between himself and Josh Slate. But at the end, what I bring up, Decon, the difficulty of racing around all this lap traffic. These guys that have fresh tires that are in fights of their own, and you have to sort of be in the middle of that unwillingly just because they've got fresher rubber.
Yeah, if you have old tires and you got all these cars that are coming by that might have just been a lap down because they got fresh tires, it's almost not worth it to just let them, to just fight them. You got to let them go. You got to just preserve what you have because, like I said earlier, you're just making people mad if you just hold them up when they're way faster than you. But the other thing is they're way faster than you. You just figure it out.
Well, it looks like for Houff, that was his calling card to come into pit road. So from second place, he enters the lane, and that should be his final stop of this race. At least we anticipate with around 34 laps to go. It's a pretty interesting place because you're sort of outside the window, Dylan, if you're not saving already. And if you look at Josh Slate, who's coming into pit road right now, we anticipate that, you know, they can go maybe 20 or so laps, maybe 30 if you think about stretching it. But 34 laps is a pretty tall task when you think about it. And it's going to be the same for these guys who pitted more recently. Bailey Turner, who's going to have the net race lead now, possibly in a fight with Miranda. They're going to get past 27 laps before this is all said and done. So, I mean, with this 70% max fuel tank that we have on these cars, we might have at least one more stop. It's going to get extremely close to the window to end this one.
Oh, you're not lying. I mean, this is, like I said, I keep mentioning, it's going to be exciting the rest of the way as Blake McCandless has assumed the lead. He's got about a 13-second lead on Joey Padgett and Jordan Buster. By the way, beautiful looking car that Blake McCandless is driving. It's kind of it looks like the old NASCAR Thunder Games. It's got a big NASCAR and NBC sponsor on the front of it. It looks like it's, you know, a good looking Blake right there. Does a lot of stuff with NASCAR and NBC. You see him at the track a lot, kind of just shadowing all the guys at NBC. I mean, we're going to hear him tomorrow as we have the NASCAR Clash tomorrow taking place at the virtual LA Coliseum. Listen to him, Evan Pasoko, and another driver in this race, Ryan Vargas. So we got a lot of luminaries in the NASCAR world up here, but it should be a fun one tomorrow night as they're right down the road in Los Angeles virtually. You know, they're already there, but this is just something to prepare for tomorrow. But yeah, I can't wait to see how they do in the booth together. But Blake McCandless, you know, if he gets caution, he'll be in good shape. But right now, he's kind of hoping for that and just kind of biding his time.
Yeah, I was about to say there, Dylan, that he's getting ready for the Coke Series to start in 2024, for all of that to kick off. Of course, a lot of free agency changes, and Blake, who was one of the commentators for our series a couple of seasons ago with myself and Jacob Hitz, a really great 3-man booth, and it was awesome seeing the skill and intelligence that Blake puts in the booth whenever he shows up. And it's just really cool that he's been able to extend the opportunities and move up through the eNASCAR ladder and even a bit into the real life world as well, working with NBC and NASCAR's coverage. So really cool as Blake McCandless will hold on to the lead, but we should expect him to hop on the brakes. It looks like the moment will be now, so he will hop on the binders, make that left to pit road. It should hand the lead over to Joey Padgett, who's in second. Bit of a slide there from the 71.
Yeah, I think he might have a set of tires left, I believe, because I remember he had to stretch a long run where he was running like 19th or 20th, so we'll see if that's another part of the strategy as Joey Padgett will go by and assume the race lead right now, with Bailey Turner about 3.5 seconds behind, and then Mario Miranda, Boomer Sooner himself, running in third place now.
And what I've noticed from now second and third at this moment should be the net race leaders, and we'll have a great battle here for sure, is that they're not saving, right? They're not clutching and coasting. They're running this thing 150% as they would if they weren't worried about the fuel numbers and behind the wheel of the race car. Now, while Adam Cabot has been saving extensively, he's dropped back to 7th. I mean, he's saving all night long, it feels like. For these two, they're running it all the way through. I mean, what are you thinking now? You're 14 laps into the stint, 30 laps to go, at least one more pit stop left. It's got to be a lot in the brain, maybe with the strategist, or if you're by yourself, just kind of pondering what the outcome is going to be and how you're going to attack it.
I might almost consider, if I am pitting just now, or if I pit in the last 5 or 10 laps, I might consider trying to stretch this. I know it'd be a big stretch, but, you know, earlier we saw that you can make a 30-lap run happen. I mean, that means you can make 32 laps happen. So you might try to see you might see someone that's going to try to stretch it for the rest of the way, but ordinarily, except unless you just pitted, you're going to have to make one more stop.
So Bailey Turner and Mario Miranda will assume first and second, as Joey Padgett, the Team Joyride driver out of Tallahassee, Florida, will come in to pit road. And here comes Miranda, the Oklahoma native, diving to the inside on Turner. Turner floats up high, the 89 down low, and Mario Miranda trying to take over the lead, but it won't happen just yet, at least for the completion is concerned. Bailey Turner going to stay with him.
Bailey doing a good job holding him off on the high side there, but again, just depending on how the tires have worn so far and how the rubber's built up into the track, you know, Mario might be on the better line right now, but I think you'll see a lot of guys just start to move up, as we've had Michael Fisher. He is DNF'd in the race so far. He has left the server, so hate to see that. He was involved in that earlier wreck. But, you know, Bailey's just holding tight up there. These two fighting, and Ryan Vargas is kind of, I mentioned earlier, licking his chops because these two are fighting side by side, and he's running faster than both of them.
All three of these guys finished in the top 10 last week at the Daytona Road Course. Of course, Miranda with the race W. Bailey Turner coming home in 8th. Ryan Vargas with a phenomenal 5th place finish to keep him alive in the run for this championship 4. And there comes the move to the inside for Miranda. Had a monstrous run out of turn 2. We'll look to slide job the 5 car exiting turn 4. And Turner's going to attempt the crossover here, but it might not be enough. There's almost a bit of contact between the two. It's getting fun between the 5 and the 89, leading to the start-finish line. I think Miranda led that one back to turn 1.
Man, they're tight off of turn 4. Bailey got a little loose and about took out both of them, and that would have been big points implications. But, you know, we hear the age-old discussion, you know, whether it's real life in the playoffs or virtually across the many leagues on iRacing. And even here, you know, if you're a playoff driver, do you deserve to basically get handed a spot from a non-playoff driver? Like, are they expected to move, or is that non-playoff driver like Mario Miranda, who's our defending race winner? I mean, does he have to give up this spot? Because a lot of people will probably say, yeah, he should move out of the way because he's a non-playoff driver, but you still want to win if you're any driver. I mean, these guys don't just show up just to run 7th and 8th behind all the playoff drivers. That's kind of what the beauty of the playoffs is it's not like if you have the Chiefs and the Niners playing next week, you don't just throw the Bills out there at some point. I mean, it's the only sport where the playoffs, you're still competing with all of the people that were involved in the season.
Man, we love making the football references, don't we? I mean, perfect timing, right?
Well, yeah.
The AFC, NFC Championship, we got to make some football jokes here.
We got a 49ers car up front, yeah.
Yeah. And Miranda so far holding on to the lead. Now, this is good news for Ryan Vargas, who sits nicely in 3rd. Adam Cabot back in 4th by a couple of seconds, but the 26 car of Vargas, I mean, what a playoff run he's built up. Winner at Talladega earlier in the first round with the next-gen cars, and hasn't been able to pick up a win since, but his consistent finishes have allowed him to, in his words, vibe through the playoffs, and is running really well tonight in the same strategy marker as Turner and Miranda, so we should expect these guys to come down pit road around the same time. Margin of error about a lap or two, but Vargas is catching up as these two continue to go side by side. And our producer Eddie Smith brings up a great point that I almost completely forgot about from last week at the Daytona Road Course, Dylan. The 5 and the 89, they have a bit of history from the week prior. On the last lap, coming out of NASCAR turn 2, Mario Miranda was pushing Turner, got him loose out of the corner. Turner went right up into the wall on the white flag lap, and that's how he finished 8th. Could have had a shot at the race win, while Miranda ending up just soaking in all of the elation of the victory. So for these two, maybe some bad blood between them, not trying to make a pun intended there, but, you never know what could happen if they have a bit of beef here with 23 to go.
Beef, it's what's for dinner, apparently. I mean, that's one thing that also could carry into this. Mario Miranda's not going to do any favors for Bailey Turner because, as you mentioned, they had some beef in the previous races. They both come down pit road. They're screaming on the pit road for believing to be what their final pit stop is. Adam Cabot will file in behind them. Excuse me, that's Brandon Houff that will file in behind them. but another strategy call here. This is presumed to be their last stop.
This is going to be, and this may give them enough time to cycle out, because now at this point, they're good on fuel to the end of this race. That's all that matters, but cycling out with the rest of the competition and hoping that nobody makes a miracle save to be up front at the end of this race, you know, there is going to be a lot of questions to be answered here over the next 22 or so laps. Ryan Vargas is going to stay out here 20 laps into his stint. He gets to the inside, nabs a bit of the grass, got a bit sideways. But the La Mirada, California native is going to head on in. Brandon Houff will take over the race lead. Josh Slate will hand it over to second place. And this is going to get really close as Cole Cabry into 15 laps into his stint. Man, all these playoff drivers on different strategies. Miranda, Turner, and Cabot are good to the end of this race. But we'll see how long it lasts before everything goes out of whack.
Which, you never know, that could happen pretty quickly here as Brandon Houff in that lovely 9 machine assumes the lead here. Gotta imagine it's 4 tires and just enough fuel to get by to the end here, but Brandon Houff with Joshua Slate about 3 seconds behind here. Believe Brandon Houff's gonna stay out for a couple more laps, but all these guys that have stayed out, Brandon Houff pitted lap 91, Slate 92, Ellis 92, Cabry 88, Blake McCandless 95. They might try to stretch it here. The one that I would want to circle is Blake McCandless. He's known for his fuel-saving strategies. He had a race when he was in the Pro Series a couple years ago where he did not pit the entire length of a pro race at Watkins Glen. And it snagged him a few more spots that he probably should have had just based on the speed and practice and everything. But Blake's a smart guy. I wouldn't put it past him to try to do something like that.
Hey, you're right. Could be the jack in the box and just surprise everybody when it comes down for this race win. And this is a great look that Eddie Smith, I think, read my mind here. I was about to see if we can get an onboard look with McCandless, because look how early that he is saving on either straightaway. This is turn 3. But he barely gets the bumps before hopping on the clutch.
I'm telling you, he's got to be saving here. I mean, this could be, it's either crazy or brilliant.
And you'll see it here. And he does this a lot at tracks like Rockingham, where midway down the back straightaway, he will hop on the brakes and just slam it onto the clutch and save. Coast that car all the way through the corner. And this helps in a way, Dylan, because, I mean, you're saving fuel, but you're also, you know, saving the brake pedal, because you don't really have to use the brake pedal all that much as the car just rotates while it naturally slows down through the corner. So McCandless, you know, has the ability to not only save some rubber and, you know, save some fuel as well, just save a bit of brake pedal as he's trying to rotate the car. Look at that. Another way early hit to the clutch pedal going into turn 3.
Yeah, that's a big entry right there. I mean, it almost sounds like an electric car when it goes down to 3 and 4. It's almost unsettling silence that happens. I mean, he's backing up earlier and earlier every corner. So again, I think this is strategy by Blake. Blake's trying to win this race and not pit again. I mean, there's nothing for Blake to lose. I mean, he's not a playoff driver. He's just trying to get a Monday Night Racing win and spoil the party from these other playoff drivers.
And he would technically, I believe, be the first driver to commentate the series full-time and then win a race in its last ever season. So McCandless is looking to make a little history here from the booth to the checkered flag, as some more drivers, it looks like, are trying to figure out their strategies as of now. Top 10 as it runs. McCandless currently running in 5th, but Brandon Houff, the race leader. Joshua Slate behind to the tune of about 2 seconds. Stephen Ellis, nice job by the Canadian in the 46. He is 3rd. Blake McCandless, of course, now moving up to 4th, as Cole Cabry, former leader tonight, ends up on pit road 19 laps into his stint with 17 to go.
Brandon Houff will come down pit road now as Joshua Slate will assume the lead. Stephen Ellis behind him, but again, we got that big question mark right there. Blake McCandless, who is the 3rd longest car from his last pit stop. I mean, he's got to wait for Ellis and Slate to pit, but he's still maintaining a pretty decent gap between him and Mario Miranda, about 7.8 seconds. Now, there is a distinct speed difference where he's about 2 seconds slower than Mario Miranda, so we'll have to see what happens here if Miranda catches up to Blake McCandless.
Now, remember, this is all for the final 2 playoff spots in either bracket going into this race. Cole Cabry had the advantage at 81 points. Joshua Slate was the underdog in it with 68 points. He had the transfer spot going into tonight's event. Then on the right bracket, Group 2, Chase Cabry, who's not racing tonight, had 85 points. Ryan Vargas at 81. and third place right behind the transfer drivers. Each of them were close. 3 points of difference in group number 1 and then 7 points of difference in group number 2. So it has been remarkably close even before we dropped the green flag tonight. And with all of this strategy now under full display, it's going to be a lot of fun to see exactly who's got the upper hand, who will surprise anyone, and of course, who will take the checkered flag. For right now, in terms of the drivers that are good on strategy, it's these two here. Miranda in the 89, Bailey Turner in the 5, as it looks like Joshua Slate Dillon has come down pit road. This is going to be his last stop.
Yeah, he's going to come down pit road. You know, he's involved with that accident earlier. He's bounced back. He was kind of hoping for a well-timed caution there, but it will hand the lead off to Stephen Ellis in the 46 machine, that good-looking car over there. But Blake McCandless still holding a 4-second difference between him and Mario Miranda, as it's only fuel only for Joshua Slate. No tires that time by. So Blake's, I think he's starting to see that they're catching up, so I think he's going to be done clutching here in about a lap and a half or 2 laps or so, just for the sake of trying to maintain that position. Ooh, Slate about lost coming out pit road. He might be out of tires now that I think about it, as our great producer Eddie Smith pointed out.
This is going to be tough for Josh Slate because he's got the rear tires completely torn up, and he's going to have to wheel them around and nurse them to the end of this race with about 12 laps to go, as Stephen Ellis will overtake the race lead. Him and McCandless still are yet to pit theoretically. Now, with McCandless' strategy, we'd assume that he's going to try and stay out until this one is over. But for Ellis, he just chirped over the radio, said, I'm pitting this time by. So the 46 will come in at lap number 113. It'll be 12 remaining, and this, at this moment, behind Blake McCandless, Dylan, is the battle for the lead. Miranda looking to go 2 in a row, and Bailey Turner looking to get his first career win to get him right into the championship 4.
Stephen Ellis has come down pit road, so that will hand the lead off to Blake McCandless, but I'm wondering when he's going to pick up the pace again, because he's got Miranda and Turner hot on his heels behind him. As we're coming to 12 or 13 to go, or 12 to go, yeah, I wish I could read, as they go down to turn number 1.
Well, this is going to be it, because McCandless is getting caught at a significantly high rate. About 0.5 of a second here. Miranda right behind the 71, and McCandless, I mean, his bet is probably made by now. He's going to save until the end of this race, even if it doesn't guarantee him a win. The 89, on the other hand, is looking to play maximum defense against this 5 car. And looking at these 2 laps, Dylan, between the 89 and the 5, they're almost mirror image. You don't really see a large discrepancy between either of them, and this is going to be a big run out of 4 for Bailey Turner, because Miranda had to run up wide to get around the 71. Bailey Turner's got the draft from both McCandless and Miranda. Heading back to turn 1, it'll be 10 laps to go.
You know, they're awful close to that fuel number. Everyone pitted about lap 22 or 23. Miranda and Turner have been running full speed. You know, I'm 99.9% sure they can make it the rest of the way, but I'm not 100%. So I think Blake is sticking to the strategy to try to kind of eke this one out. But, you know, I think the dream is dead, because he's going to have older tires, as Vargas is going to go by him here in probably a lap or so. But he's picked up the pace a little bit. He's shaved off about 0.5 of a second from that last lap. He's going to be down the 41s this time, but Ryan Vargas and Bailey Turner and Mario Miranda running about 40-second laps. So Blake's picked it up now, so he's only 0.4 off now.
I just noticed, and we can imagine maybe if this saving strategy was going to be enough to get him to the end, but he's still got 10 more circuits around this Auto Club Speedway if he wants to make it to the checkered flag. Now, we mentioned Miranda and Turner in possibility of winning this race. Ryan Vargas has a lap fresher tires than your top 2, so make that the second playoff driver that has an opportunity to win tonight.
You know, there's one more thing I didn't think about. I think Blake McCandless, I've only seen him pit 3 times, so if he gets a caution, he might be able to snag a set of tires and try to steal one here at the end, but he would need a caution next 2 laps or so to have enough time to get to the front. But yeah, Ryan Vargas, he's made up some time on them. He was about 1/10 of a second faster in these top 2 of Miranda and Bailey Turner.
So what a race this is turning out to be from Fontana, California, in the semifinal race of Season 7 in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series playoffs. Miranda, Turner, and Vargas. Turner and Vargas fighting for the transfer spots in group number 2 in their bracket. Miranda looking to play spoiler and get another win here at this Auto Club Speedway with this car like he did in the summer of 2023. It will be 8 laps to go this time by.
That time by, Ryan Vargas was the fastest car on the racetrack. But the other thing is, Bailey Turner's catching Mario Miranda, but Vargas is going to have to try to pass both of these guys. It's not like he's just chasing one car. All three of these guys are going to be pretty close to under a blanket with about 2 or 3 laps to go.
You know, he's faster than these two, but you never know once he hops into dirty air how much that will change as he gets closer, because if they give him a fight for his money, Vargas is going to have to work really hard. His tires are going to degrade, and it's going to even out basically with the top 2 in front. So this is going to get monumentally close between first, second, and third in the waning laps here from Auto Club. We've only had 1 caution in this race. A lot of it strategy filled with a lot of distance taking control. But how about it, a close finish we'll have in this semifinal race. Vargas peaked underneath Turner, exiting turn 2. He'll possibly attempt to pass. Entering 3 and 4, he runs up the high side.
I think Vargas is trying out different lanes here. That top line was working pretty well earlier because you can get a better run off the top coming off of 4 and off of turn 2, but he got up real close to Bailey Turner there as they're going to go down to 1 and 2. Pretty close to side by side. See if Vargas can get the nose in there as he's going to take the bottom now going in there. And look at the run that Ryan Vargas gets going through 1 and 2 as it looks like he's going to be in second position off the exit here.
Ryan Vargas lunging it into turns 1 and 2. Here comes Turner for the crossover. Big move from the 5 car to make it a pass for second again.
You know who's loving this is Mario Miranda. He keeps seeing them burn their stuff up back there and just have a dogfight for second. Meanwhile, that last time by, he was the fastest car on the racetrack. And another guy that's kind of hovering around, Blake McCandless, running even lap times with these guys, about 1.5 seconds behind these guys as he gets blocked all the way to the top. Turner sends Vargas close to the wall as they go down turn 1 trying to fight for the higher ground.
And Turner shut the door. They almost make contact entering turn 1, and this is monumental stuff for Mario Miranda, who's going to look into his rearview mirror and say sayonara. He wants them to continue to go side by side, and it might open the door for, like you said, McCandless to make an absolute effort here, exiting turn 1 and 2, and now entering turn 3. We'll head to 4 laps to go, and Miranda is approaching some lap traffic. We're still side by side for second.
Miranda got a little loose there off the exit right there as they're still side by side back there between Vargas and Turner. As Vargas, if he can get him clear, he'll have a straight shot at Mario Miranda, but they're still side by side. As both that last time by, Mario Miranda and Ryan Vargas ran even lap times, and Bailey Turner was the slowest of the 3. And you know who was faster than all 3 of those guys? And I don't know if I'll have enough time, is Blake McCandless.
Yeah, Blake McCandless was faster. They're going to stay door to door, and they almost make a bit of contact entering to turn 3. Mind you, this is for the last 2 spots in group number 2. Chase Cabry out of this race. Vargas came into this one 4 spots and 4 points behind Chase Cabry's top loading stat at 85 points. So this is going to be crucial for Vargas and for Turner to make an effort at it. And they've got Colin Fern nowhere in sight as he settled in his 16th. We stay door to door for P2, and we're going to catch up to 2 laps to go. Miranda's going to have a shot to pull away again.
He's just not going to be able to do it. I mean, Vargas has got the higher ground. He's got the better tires, so now he's going to move into second position. Based on the math, I believe he would finish in the first spot. But if both of these guys wreck, Chase Cabry could still slide into that position, even though he's not in the race.
He's crossing his fingers and hoping that this isn't what's going to decide the end of his championship pursuit. On board with Ryan Vargas, and now clear shot ahead, but still half a second back to the race leader with only 2 laps left from the Auto Club Speedway. Blake McCandless has called that an end to his green flag long run. He enters pit road, but this is the fight we're watching for with lap traffic ahead.
That last time by, Vargas was faster by the 10th, but he'll need to pick it up if he wants to catch Mario Miranda, as he's about a half second behind as we're coming to the white flag this time by.
This will be the final trip around Auto Club Speedway in Monday Night Racing history, at least that's concerned. Busters in the wall with Mobilis right on the inside. That got miraculously close to the leader's white flag.
Now this just got interesting because now Bailey Turner's about almost a second behind Vargas, and Vargas is there. Vargas is right there in the rearview mirror of Mario Miranda.
It slowed up the race leader, and this will be the last effort to get for a race win. Miranda looking to go 2 in a row and get his third on the season. Vargas looking to get his second on the season and get an entry right into the championship 4. Final entrance into 3 and 4. Vargas tries a last move, but Mario Miranda is going to hang on and take his third career Monday Night Racing victory. Miranda goes 2 in a row.
Hey, that's got to be a big sigh of relief by Mario Miranda. If there was another lap, I think Vargas would have got up to him, but I'll tell you what, that lap traffic, I didn't think was going to make a difference, but they caught him so quick that, you know, he was 3 wide with the lap traffic, but Super Mario figured it out and brought home the W.
And that almost made a huge difference to giving Ryan Vargas a really good shot at taking this win away, but Miranda hung on tight, and there was his girlfriend there giving him a big hug to celebrate just like she did last week at Daytona Road Course. And Miranda becomes the first driver to go 2 in a row since Gabe Wood all the way back in Season 3. It's been a long time since we've seen a driver go 2 in a row in this series. It just shows you how hard it is to win with this level of competition. But the 89 of Mario Miranda has accepted the challenge, and for the second time in a row at Auto Club, Miranda wins it.
Man, what a great job by Mario Miranda. You know, he's not in the playoffs, but he's had a breakout year this year in Monday Night Racing. Pulled off a couple victories in the Summer Series. This is victory, I believe, number 3 this year in the Monday Night Racing season. I mean, he's done an excellent job. He might be the best driver that didn't make the playoffs.
And he made such a stout run for the top 16 throughout the campaign, and unfortunately had to forfeit just because he couldn't make most of the races. But hey, you're right, Decon. You could argue that if he was fighting for the championship, how strong would he be? An unbelievable job by the Tulsa, Oklahoma native to take the win here at Auto Club Speedway. We'll take a short break and be back in a moment with unofficial results and more here from Fontana, California. You're tuned in to Podium Esports' coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series playoffs and the Mach 10 Digital 250.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Auto Club and a stellar race in the semifinal for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. Coverage of the MNR playoffs is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all of your roofing needs. To learn more about their services, go to highlandhomesroofing.com. And by Mach 10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions. Well, we have the finishing order here from Auto Club Speedway, but before we give you the unofficial results in this semi-final race, we want to look back at the last lap, turn 4. This is coming to the checkered flag. Colin Fern with an issue decon. Looked like with his brake pedal, you were hearing it over the radio. Presley Sora was catching up to him in the chase for the checkered. This is a look at it as we roll. What happens here?
So Fern's having issues with his brake pedals, and Sora gives him a little bit of a bump. Now, these two weren't even close to each other before the corner, but Sora was given an EOL penalty for causing an incident, similar fashion that we saw last week with Adam Cabot, where it was coming to the checkered flag, but there was no yellow that would come out. So even though this had nothing to do with position, they've given Presley Sora an EOL penalty, so he's the last car scored on the lead lap. So I can't remember exactly where he was running, but he will now finish in 16th position because of this, and it seemed like an equipment failure, and Presley had some choice words with the race control director at the end of the race there. So that's big for our points.
Yeah, really big. And when you consider the other drivers they had to fight up against tonight with Chase Cabriel, they still had to worry about Ryan Vargas and Bailey Turner making an effort into the championship 4. They might have those spots locked up. Turner and Fern, or rather Sora and Fern, might just come up short. As we look at the unofficial results again, this is unofficial, barring any official decision by race control. Mario Miranda goes 2 in a row. First time we've seen a driver go 2 in a row since season 3. Boy, has it been a while, but Miranda rewrites history, gets his 3rd career MNR victory. Ryan Vargas had a shot right at the end with some lap traffic drama coming to the white flag. Maybe if you gave him an extra lap, you could have called Ryan Vargas the winner tonight, but still 2nd place might be good enough to get into the championship for at Chicagoland. Bailey Turner as well. Whale of a fight by the 5 car. He also put up a fight worthy enough of a championship 4 bid, but we'll find out after tonight. Brandon Houff in the 9 car. What a surprise after being further back in this field, dealing with a lot of strategy snafus and sort of finding himself in the middle off sequence. He ends up 4th place. Adam Cabot, the saving he's been doing all race, it looks like it got him to 5th. Pretty decent finish. We'll see if that's good enough to beat the rest of the competition into the championship 4. Christopher Tate will finish in 6th place. Nick Olsen will come away with a 7th place finish tonight. Brandon Brown, what an unbelievable job. We saw him run up front for a while. He started 16th. He finishes in position number 8. DJ Cummings is 9th, and Josh Slate, decon, rounds out the top 10.
I'll take you the rest of the way through the field here. Devin Henry finishing in P11. Stephen Ellis was running up front a lot of the race, finishing in P12. Cole Cabry led a bunch of this race. Going to go from starting in 2nd to finishing 13th. Joey Padgett, kind of a quiet night, finishing P14. Steve Offont finishing P15. And this is where it gets a little hairy. Presley Sora finishing P16. Colin Fern, P17. Jordan Buster, the first car a lap down. He was lapped with about 2 laps to go when things got a little hairy up front. Blake McCandless, the miracle run was over. Wasn't able to save enough fuel, finishing P19. Mark Rabillas finishing P20 after his pit road snafu, and then the rest of these guys, they were involved in earlier incidents. Ford Martin finishing 29 laps down at 21st. Michael Fisher left the race early, P22. Gary Sexton, P23. Ronnie Osper, P24. And Jordan Black, P25. Those guys finishing more than 57 laps down in this event.
So that's the 25 cars that started and ended tonight's 125 lapper from Fontana, California. We are 1 race away from deciding a Monday Night Racing champion, but the playoffs didn't matter for Mario Miranda, who comes away with his 3rd win of the season and 2nd in a row. Mario, could you have ever predicted that? And how do you feel after taking this win at a track and a combo that you dearly love and have had a lot of success at before?
Man, I love the Gen 4. I need to find a league that just runs the Gen 4. It's a blast, and it's amazing to go back to back, both at Auto Club and just in general back to back wins. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. It wasn't easy. I'm sweating profusely right now. It is way too hot in my room, but it feels really good to be back in victory lane again.
A huge win under strategy. Walk us through that final lap. I mean, you're leading the race over Bailey Turner. Then Ryan Vargas comes into the picture. Big happenings out of turn 4 with a bit of lap traffic. Your emotions, your thoughts, what's going through your head in that moment, and how do you find yourself to remain yourself calm? What do you think about to keep yourself calm and hold on to the win?
I knew Vargas had the better tires. He caught up to us on the run previously, and he was catching up to us on that last run. And coming out of turn 3, entering turn 4, I see someone go up into the wall, and I knew I was underneath Mark, and I knew Mark would be trying to avoid it, so I let off the throttle. I tried to give as much space as I could to them. Maybe I could have given a little bit more or given a little less. But yeah, doing that ruined my lead, and I lost what I had worked on, and Vargas was right there, and I knew he'd been running the top, so I was gonna run the top in 1 and 2 and go defensive in 3 and 4, and it turned out really well. But if there was one more lap in that race, I would have first ran out of fuel and probably would have been passed.
We could ask what if about this race. We could also ask what if about if you were in the playoffs, how far you would have gone with the success you've achieved in the last couple of weeks. But you are the first driver in M&R history to go 2 in a row since season 3. It's been a really long time since we've seen a driver achieve 2 races in a row. And I see this smile on your face. It's a big accomplishment to go 2 in a row with competition like that. So what does that mean to you in your first season, all the skill that you've proved to the competition out there to win these 2 races in a row and show them, I guess, who's boss in a sense, and show them what kind of skill you have behind the wheel?
Oh man, I don't know. I kind of wish I didn't have finals during Monday night. That really sucks because, like you said, this would have been a lot more fun for me. Being in the playoffs and fighting for a championship my rookie year. But that's really cool to have 2 in a row since season 3, and I can only assume the guy who did in season 3 is a pretty known name. So it feels great, and hopefully I can play spoil and go win next week and kind of steal the shine from the champion or soon to be crowned champion. But I'm just looking forward. I'm really happy. I'm lost for words. I can't really speak right now. Bobby, see, I can't. I'm stumbling. It's an insane moment.
It's all good, all good. A big moment for you. And I mean, you said looking forward to the next race. I mean, Gen 4s again. How about it? How about it? Take another banger car, put it on a banger track in Chicagoland. And you said it in the Twitter group chat last week at Daytona Road Course. You said the Auto Club was shaping up to be one of the best races of the season. Chicagoland, though, might be one of those to take the top spot. So, how do you try to attack Chicagoland for the finale now that you've got the last 2 races in the bag?
I remember Chicagoland from the summer, and kind of like what we did tonight. I looked back at the summer race, see what I did, see what the fuel was like. It kind of didn't really matter because fuel was completely different tonight than it was in the summer. But how the cars drive and how people were driving each other, trying to see what the strategies were back then. And I know the mistakes I made from Chicagoland this summer. I really wish I could redo them, and now I have a chance to do so next week. So looking really strong for next week. I'm really excited for next week. I know the final 4 drivers are, but I think I'm more excited than they. Because I don't know if everyone's gone 3 in a row Monday night, and if they have, I'm gonna try to beat it.
I want to look back in history and see if there's ever been a driver that's gone 3 in a row. There has, and it was Nick DeGroot who did it back in, I believe, season 1. I don't think anyone's been able to do it since. 2 in a rows have happened. 3 in a rows haven't happened since the first season, and I think if you could do it, that will probably be a new history written, new type of history written into the books for sure as a rookie driver, and it's such a stellar job. Mario, just an unbelievable win tonight from Auto Club Speedway. We certainly appreciate the time. Congratulations on the win. Go celebrate it. We know there's no stress heading into Chicagoland, but we're going to have a lot of fun seeing you out there for the final M&R race. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
So that is Mario Miranda, the Boomer Sooner, to victory lane for the 3rd time this season and for the 2nd time in a row. Now, coming up short is a playoff driver who might just find himself in the advancement spot for the championship 4. That's Ryan Vargas, who's right alongside Dylan Connolly.
Ryan Vargas, our second place finisher tonight. If you had another lap, I think you would have caught him, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I got caught racing with Bailey there. Me and him exchanged words after the race. We were at the hauler just screaming and flailing our fists, but we were good. No, it was a great battle. Me and Bailey got just kind of stuck racing each other, and I think that was just the difference there. in terms of the track position. But at the end of the day, you know, a P2 finish in our critical path security car is always a good day. It's good to be mad about second. Should have been a win last week, should have been a win this week. So I'm never one to bet on hypotheticals or coulda, shoulda, wouldas. But the last two races, I could say legitimately should have been wins, and that feels pretty good.
You know, I would say, unless my math is just horrendously off, I believe you have a spot locked up from Group 2 to go to the Final Four. I mean, what was the process of getting to that? Was it you were trying to get as many points as possible, just stockpile a bunch of good wins, a bunch of good races together, or were you just going race by race?
I mean, just going race by race. I mean, I tell people all the time. A lot of people get, you know, especially on sim racing, you know, and if there's a playoff format, you know, a lot of people drive a little bit more over their heads, right? Whereas I just let the guys around me do what they do, and I work around them, and that's exactly what I did. This whole playoffs here, I just kind of vibed. I hung out, let everybody make their mistakes, um, and just took advantage of, you know, of whatever situation I ended up being in. And fortunately, that was good enough to get our critical path car into the final four.
Again, you were only 4 points behind Chase Cabry, who did not race tonight, and Bailey Turner finished right behind you. So, again, if my Arkansas math is correct, I believe you're in the Final Four. So, how's that feel?
It feels great. I mean, it feels good to actually be able to compete for the title, which is always a good feeling. It's always great for the partners. We just had Lyrgus Security sign back on the sim, and now we got Critical Path in the playoffs, making a deep playoff run. They were with me about a season or two ago, and we had horrible luck that season and didn't make it very far. So to get them in the final four this year in MNR's final season, it's a pretty cool feeling. Just shouts out to all the league admins and everybody. I know it's been a long year, and it's cool to make it this far in it. So hopefully we can seal the deal next week.
So, one last thing before we let you go, just real quick. Big event starting tomorrow. Big season that you're now a part of. Can you tell
Yes.
us what your role is with eNASCAR starting tomorrow?
Yes, I will be in the booth for a couple of Coke Series races. I don't know exactly the number, but I'm really excited about it. I have a lot to go up against, I guess you could say, with Evan and Blake in the booth, but they're spectacular talents in the booth, and I'm just excited to kind of get my repetition in and get used to, doing that, play-by-play analytic stuff, and that's something that I've always wanted to do outside of the race car. I've had a lot of enjoyment, being in front of a mic, being in front of a camera. I always feel very confident, especially when it's talking about racing. And with the Coke Series coming up, all the new teams, all the new excitement coming in, the formats, new tracks. It's a big year to be in eNASCAR. So just really appreciative of iRacing and Drew and everybody there in the production team that kind of, extended their hand to me and let me get this opportunity that I never really imagined I would get.
Well, again, good luck to you in that, and great job tonight. Good luck next week. Any final thoughts that you have?
No, I mean, just as always, they get a critical path security. I'll mention them again. Lyrgus Security. I know they're not on this card, but they are big on the sim this year with me, and we're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So, just two fantastic partners of mine. Williamsburg Contracting's on the car as well. It's a pleasure to represent so many incredible companies in real life, and then bring them onto into the sim racing world and actually get the results that I feel that we deserve.
Ryan, congratulations tonight, and good luck the rest of the year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, as Ryan Vargas, our second place finisher, if he had another lap, he probably would have got to Mario Miranda, but he was fighting alongside our third place finisher, Bailey Turner, who's standing by with Kenneth right now.
Yeah, most likely newly minted championship for Bailey Turner. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But Bailey, I mean, great fight with Ryan Vargas up to the end. You had a shot at Mario Miranda under strategy. What was the thought process like as you got into the waiting laps of the race and had to really think about where you were putting the car and, of course, if you were good on fuel to the end or not?
Yeah, I was in a pretty good spot there fuel wise. I think I ended up having an extra lap there, which is how the strategies worked out. And Vargas played a strategy I did not see coming at all, and he managed to have that extra set there at the end. And he put on a hell of a run. I was trying to chase down Mario, and I started looking at my relative, and I'm like, shoot, I gotta see what I can do to hold off Vargas just in case we get a caution, just because we are battling for a championship. And say we get a restart and things go crazy and he ends up in an incident, that at least puts me in a halfway decent position. So I know he wasn't too happy with having to battle there at the end, but I was doing all I could just for my championship because the win just didn't mean as much, in that position there, unfortunately. And trying to chase down Mario, trying not to see red after he wrecked me last week on the very last lap, and has also taken me out of position to win races before in the season. So, unfortunate I had to battle Vargas because I would have much rather seen him go up there and drive than take that. But really happy with the P3 result and how the strategies all kind of worked out. And realistically, throughout the whole race, I was really just having to play strategy. I wanted to go up there and battle and have some fun, but just had to stay ahead of Colin Fern there with how everything worked out with Chase. So sucks that he can't be there to kind of battle for it. I feel like I kind of slipped my way into this one, but then again, got taken out already a couple times in the playoffs, and strategy has messed me up before. So just glad that we were in position here at the end, and can't wait to be in position to battle for a championship.
Really interesting point you brought up there about racing Fern, thinking about the fact that Chase Cabry didn't race tonight from Auto Club. How does that alter your approach when you think about the fact that one of the guys in your bracket isn't racing, is going to lose points, and then you've got Vargas, you've got Colin Fern hot on your heels, knowing that you all three are fighting for only 2 spots? How does that alter your approach to the race entirely? And do you think about that at all when you factor in the type of strategy you employ?
Oh, for sure. I mean, all credit due to Colin. Unfortunately, I hate saying that sometimes he pulls off some really good strategies. But I just had to watch where he was the whole race. Realistically, Vargas had a 7-point gap or so on me. So unless something catastrophic happened to him, the only person I was racing was Colin Fern. So really just managing my race, making sure I didn't get beat on strategy, and I had everything kind of mapped out the way I needed to. Which is why I stayed out when we initially got that yellow around lap 60 and saved that set of tires for the end just to make sure I was in a good spot. And, thankfully, we didn't get a caution because I thought I heard Fern say something about another set of tires. So, yeah, like I said, really glad that worked out the way it did. Unfortunate that I had to cost Vargas a little bit of a chance there to win. It looked like he was within a tenth or so, but when you're going for the championship, that's a little more important than the win. So, like I said, glad it worked out. Can't wait to, I've already been in this position helping Adam Cabot go for a championship. So it's nice to actually be going for it myself this time.
And I was about to ask that. The chase for the championship for unofficially, it's going to be you, Vargas, Adam Cabot, and Cole Cabry. So talk us through the emotions of fighting Adam Cabot directly for the championships as opposed to being behind the box, and how you mentally approach for Chicagoland, what the thought process is like, and how do you make sure you are at your 150% A game when you head to the Gen 4s at Chicagoland next Monday?
Yeah, I guess I'll actually have to put in a little work this week. Usually just kind of show up and see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, obviously Cole has just been in a league of his own. Him and Adam this season, I mean, Adam every season realistically, are, far and away sometimes, they're the A-plus drivers of the group. And then I feel like there's always, me and Vargas kind of battling it out there in that kind of third through fifth or sixth range. I know he has a couple wins this season, but generally that's where we've been at, and consistency is what realistically what got us here, and just trying to be as smart as we can. But I think next week is going to take a little bit of both. It's going to take you're going to have that raw pace. You're going to have to know strategy. You're going to have to also manage the run. So it's going to take everything next week. And I think the car track combo is one of those ones that's pretty challenging if you get the right kind of setup. And I'm sure the admins will do a good job of trying to send M&R out in style. And happy and to be a part of this final group that gets to battle here. And hopefully we put on a great show for the NMNR, and obviously thanks to Ford and all the admins and you guys especially too. You guys put on such a good broadcast. But really looking forward to trying to go out on top and get my first championship here.
Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words, Bailey, and gotta say the same for you and your driving style and competitiveness. And it's going to be really awesome to see you be a part of the final chapter of M&R here in Season 7 and be a part of that championship fight at Chicagoland Speedway. We know that one's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great to see you there, Bailey. On behalf of our entire broadcast team, congratulations on the 3rd place finish tonight from Auto Club Speedway. We'll see you so far unofficially Championship 4 member, looking for the title next week at Chicagoland. Best of luck.
Appreciate it, and go Niners.
Yes, sir.
So that is Bailey Turner. Had to give out the Go 49ers for the Super Bowl this season as they face on the Chiefs in just a couple of weeks. Turner will be facing 3 other drivers for the M&R Championship, though. As of now, it is unofficial, but as we have our calculations, we're not the best at math, but we can definitely get one down. Cole Cabry, best driver so far through the playoffs. He should be able to lock in a spot. So will Adam Cabot after what happened to Joshua Slate, gave a run for it, and then Presley Sora with the end-of-line penalty given at the final lap of the race. And then from group number 2, the drivers that will be able to advance, Ryan Vargas, who finished 2nd tonight, and Bailey Turner, who we just talked to, in 3rd. Dylan, if this is official, this is going to be a whale of a championship 4. There have only been a couple of drivers, 2 of them really in this championship 4 that have seen championship 4 experience. Cabot, a former series title holder. Ryan Vargas, a driver that has been in this position prior. Cole Cabry and Bailey Turner, though, they have never been in this spot ever. Heading to Chicagoland to what might be one of the best races of the season. We've got the 4 locked down. There's only 1 race left to go.
Man, I can't wait for next week. I mean, that's 4 of the top 6 guys that have been there all year. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Mario Miranda, if he was able to make it, he'd be in that conversation as well. But I think you have the best top 4 that you could probably get. And it'd be really hard for me to pick a winner because you have so many guys that were good so many different parts of the year. And I can't wait for this one next week in Chicagoland.
Well, this will be the first time in Monday Night Racing history that Chicagoland will host the championship finale. We stay with the Gen 4 cars and give the ultimate test of skill and discipline to the 4 drivers running for the Season 7 Monday Night Racing title. Be sure not to miss it. That will be next Monday, February 5th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. We'll give you all the storylines, all the highlights, everything prior to what's going to be an electric final championship 4 race in Monday Night Racing history. Be sure not to miss it again. 7:45 p.m. Eastern, February 5th, we head to the Windy City to decide a Monday Night Racing champion. That'll do it for our coverage tonight of the Mach 10 Digital 250. Mario Miranda ends up the winner for the 3rd time this season and for the 2nd time in a row from Fontana, California. For Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing, for Brandon Davis and Michael Hall in Race Control, for Ryan Bauer at Podium Esports, for our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, for Cameron Auburn on our Podium Esports social media, and for the crew on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Eddie Smith and my colleague in the booth Dylan Connolly, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Farewell from Auto Club Speedway. Chicagoland is next to decide the Championship 4.